Yeah, people can listen to our banter while I sign this.
As you what?
While I sign this into the Facebook thing.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But that was good. That was pretty solid though, doing all that stuff. So we'll see how that book thing goes. But I think it'll be fun.
Oh yeah, I think it will
You
too.
know, I think it's just something you can read. There's no pictures in it, so well, there's some maps. You might be able to enjoy it too.
Fucker.
Well, I don't know. I guess we shall see. But it's all in good fun. It's all in
Oh
good
yeah.
fun. Should be some good football this weekend too. Actually,
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to the football. It's today and tomorrow,
uh,
right, that they're playing?
today and tomorrow. So you get all the
Yeah.
games. And next week's actually the best game of the oh god, I already hit this court. Is like the best game of the entire the best week of the football year. So that's what I think anyway. So who knows? Gives a shit, right? Enjoy it.
Here we go. We're going live.
Oh yeah, here we go
I'm
again.
trying this on my iPad this morning to see if I can
Oh, so I should be prepared to do this alone then?
no, I mean I'm on my laptop for recording this, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
on my laptop for watching it because
Oh, I see.
I wanted to see if I could see the comments better that way.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But anyway, we'll see. So well, hopefully the weather's okay today. Hopefully it doesn't
Well, I'm sure it will be.
it's not too shitty. I think it is gonna stop though. I think it's gonna be just kind of cloudy, rainy today. So I guess we'll find out. But it's always cloudy and rainy in my world, Mary Fincher. So that's the way it is, right? Fucking bad, I'm telling you. It's too early. We should have done Civil War friggin' dinner club and did this at 5 o'clock at
I
night.
know, that'd be
Getting up.
hilarious.
Mm, mm, mm. Hey, well, people are signing on. Hey, everybody.
Hey, people who
What's
are
up,
signing on,
Leonard, Jacob,
trying
Howard?
to figure out the comments on
Yeah,
it.
Vicksburg Day. Today's Vicksburg Day. Also, yeah,
That
definitely.
was a good episode.
We had fun doing it. We had a good time.
Yeah.
Some usual useless banter, but it's always a lot of fun doing this. I think Van Dorn's the man, though. I think that's a. I love that Holly Springs story.
I enjoyed the
Holly Ridge, as you call
Holly,
it.
you fucker.
Well, you know what? I knew I was going to do that because I told you there's a golf course called Holly Ridge right near my house, and I see the sign every day, and I knew. Hey, Allie Biddles, before we get started, I was talking to a mutual friend of ours last night, a woman named Tatum St. Cyr, who I know you know from your Endicott Gulls days.
Wow.
And so I was talking to her, and you ended up as a mutual friend on Facebook, so I mentioned you to her, and she knew you, and she says hello and go Gulls. So Tatum says hello.
That's awesome.
That's
Small
pretty fun.
world.
Small world.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah, good morning.
Hey, Lori.
Yeah, it's 10 years, the last 7 days. Yeah, this year has been the longest week of all, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
2021 starting off stronger.
Geez, totally is.
That's pretty fucked up right there, though. God, what a freaking week! I'm telling you, it's like watching an action-packed movie. But
Howard has a question. How much is Vicksburg overlooked due to Gettysburg from a history point of view?
Goodness gracious!
A
Dude,
lot.
this is where Andrea would be true that she's not on it. Vicksburg is the most militarily strongest campaign of the war, in my opinion. Unfortunately, it happened at the same time as Gettysburg, which is more of a political thing. So you look at, I think we mentioned on the podcast, Mary, that Gettysburg is like the quarterback and Vicksburg is like the offensive lineman, right? Where they did all the work, but Gettysburg got all the credit. I think it's substantially more important. And we love Gettysburg.
Gettysburg was more of like, I think the moral victory that was needed. And then Vicksburg was the strategic victory that was needed. But I think and we've talked about this before, one of the things is because Vicksburg is in the Western Theater, news travels a little bit slower, obviously, in 1863, where Gettysburg is a lot closer to the major news centers like New York City and all that. So it's going to be learned of a lot quicker. Plus its proximity to Washington, D.C. as well, I think. But yeah, I completely agree with what Darren is saying about it, that it's definitely a lot more.
Well, I think, Gettysburg happens, obviously much closer to Washington. Vicksburg, there wasn't a lot of stuff going on. It took forever. There was a lot of bad news at the beginning that we talked about. Yeah, some guy named Francis Blair. It's funny he picked up on that.
Yeah.
But it was more substantial politically for to Gettysburg, but
Yep.
militarily, you had to have Vicksburg. Like we said, it was the key that he had to have in the pocket, right? That Lincoln said.
Yep. Yep.
Some guy named Abraham Lincoln married, you know.
God.
No, but seriously though, I think it's gigantic important. You could not have won that war, or it would have gone on forever. I mean, that was their
Exactly.
supply line.
Yep.
I mean, it really did. So I'm glad people are starting to realize it more. I also think the other thing that happened too is the redheaded stepchild point that he mentions, that Jim does, is it happened at the same time. People
Yep.
think that they don't realize that Vicksburg really began on really December 29th,
Mhm.
the previous year. It just happened the same weekend. And I think that's the East versus the West thing.
Yeah, it is. It is East. And if you look at the way that Lincoln spoke about a lot of these battles, I think he saw the West as being far more strategic than the East. The East was more, because of its proximity to Washington. Obviously, there was that threat was always there. But I think when you look at what he says about Vicksburg, and then when he saw after Vicksburg, he saw Chattanooga as the next big thing to get. They had to have Chattanooga because it was the railway hub, and it's going to open the way up to getting Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Lincoln saw the Western theater because that's where it was happening.
Well, you know what we talked about before, the Shinzu's theory of war. You have to win a war one of two ways, either through means or through will, right?
Yeah.
Vicksburg was winning through means. They had to beat Vicksburg to take out the military and to really focus on destroying the army, versus Gettysburg was the will, where Lee was trying to defeat the Union to take away their will. So it really depends on what side of the coin you're going on. But yeah, Lincoln could have done a speech at Vicksburg very, very easily.
Oh yeah,
that could have been fun to do all that, to see how he would have been done. But again, the proximity is a big part of it. It certainly was.
It plays a huge role in it, and just like how the news traveled and all that, and like you're getting the news days later, right? And hey, Allie K. And Leonard said, my ears were bleeding again. Granada, Yalabusha, at least weeks, said Cairo.
Yeah, they need some easier words to read.
Hey, Liza.
But they also said, I mean, Lincoln, the White House is only 83 miles away from Gettysburg. And they said that, I don't know if it's true or not, but they said Lincoln could actually hear the cannon from the White House.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
It'd pick a church. Now, who knows if that's true or not, but that just goes to show the proximity, how local it was. And,
yeah.
But you know what, though? There's that picture I think I tweeted or posted a long time ago where it shows the two people at the podiums, and there's the one woman with 1,000 microphones that says Gettysburg, and there's the one guy with the one that says Vicksburg, right? It's the same concept.
That's how I used to feel when I was primarily focused on the Western theater. I felt like that person with the one microphone.
But Leonard, just so you know, I watched a lecture and they pronounced it Granada in the lecture. So that's where I got it from. So I did look into it. So just so you know. So potato, my friend.
I'm not going to say anything about people mispronouncing things because I am the queen of it. So
that reminds me. Did you see I got my meager flag today? Speaking of that. You brought your visual effects again, huh? Some of these words are tough to pronounce. Some of these long, some of these.
It's hard for me to spell. That is an awesome flag, though.
Hey, Leonard knows how to say undulations, though. That's the only word that really matters, though, Mary.
Rolling hills. Ryan said, it's interesting that by Grant's own standards, is Vicksburg more important than Gettysburg? He's not interested in fancy real estate. He wants Reb armies put out of action, but Vicksburg meets that standard with Pemberton's surrender, and Vicksburg might have been the one key piece of real estate in the South that is the exception to Grant's rules.
Yeah. But it's interesting. That's one of those debates that people have all the time. That's one of those great bar debates that people have, is Vicksburg versus Gettysburg. And I'm sure people out in the Western theater, Leonard's neck of the woods, are sick of hearing about Gettysburg. I'm sure they are.
They don't like hearing about it at Chattanooga.
Well, and people in Gettysburg say, what's Vicksburg? Unfortunately. It's just,
all
the way it is.
As you and I say, all battlefields matter, all battles matter, right? Because they're all
somebody needs to make a meme about that, I think.
Yeah. Why are you
maybe a little visual aid. But it's fun doing these, though, especially with some of these battles, and getting to read about guys like
I love learning about Van Dorn because like Holly Springs was where he redeemed himself. But the one takeaway I took from looking more at it was that I do see Holly Springs as being the beginning of the Vicksburg campaign, because it's a game
Oh
changer.
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, it's a complete game changer. So I see the campaign as beginning on December 20th. And I mean, that's just my opinion. That's how I'm interpreting what I like, what I'm seeing. If someone thinks it begins on the 29th with Chickasaw Bayou, then that's totally cool too. It's all in how we interpret it, and there's nothing is wrong. All
It's
battles
tied.
matter.
I thought it said all biddles matter when I read that.
Yeah, I did too.
It's
Hey,
there you go, Allie.
Roger. Allie B says the
Hey, what's up, Raj?
undulating hills.
Roger's probably back in Ohio, getting ready for what I imagine is going to be a pretty tough sports weekend in that city. After the Indian stuff, Mary, now you got these 2 football games coming up.
I don't have Alabama, so this is the next best thing because it's
there you go.
not Ohio.
We're all freaking tied this weekend. Obviously, Jesus God, they're going to beat Ohio State by 100. It won't be enough for me. So that we'll see what happens. But anyway, yeah. But the Van Dorn story is a cool one, though. I thought. Yeah. I think it's fun to all biddles do matter. But hey, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Arlington, Virginia, cool little place.
Yeah.
But I think it's fun to look into that and just understand the overall impact, because I think for most people who study the Western theater battles, not just Hawley or Chickasaw, but the ones that come afterwards, you really get a more of an appreciation of that very undervalued part of this war, which is the West. And Shiloh and Donelson, they get a lot of credit. Everyone knows the Battle of Shiloh.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you, not many people, even people who study this, really understand the historical and military impact of Holly Springs.
Yeah.
Because, like to your point, it was the beginning of the Vicksburg campaign. Everything sets off that. If Van Dorn doesn't do that, if that whole thing could totally different.
Yeah,
he did too.
It was the game changer.
Yeah, but he also bought time, because he allowed Carter Stevenson to get there from Murfreesboro. He also allowed to pull those people down from the Yabusha, or the river's called, Leonard. Good luck to pronounce that one. But the Big Y, he's allowed to pull them all down to that. And so, but again, it's the what if game. We were on that lecture the other night, Mary, and the guy who did it said that people don't like the what if thing, historians, and I would disagree with that. But I think that's a big what if is Holly Springs.
Yeah, it is.
It just certainly was.
I think I still will never understand why people don't like the what if game. And actually, speaking of what if, I'm going to make a board on our forum called Civil War What Ifs, because I think most of us like discussing them. And if you do it on some forums on Facebook, you get kicked off, or you're like, we don't do what ifs here. This is how I'm starting to understand the Civil War a bit better, because it's making me realize the impact of some of these battles, like Stones River, that's a huge what if right there. Same with Holly Springs. Like, how is it going to go if Van Dorn doesn't succeed in that raid, or doesn't even do the raid?
Yeah, I mean, he's the one who had to present Pemberton with the idea for that raid, because he was like, he got the idea from his Texas brigade, and he's like, let's friggin' do it.
Yeah. And
those cavalry guys were all into the offense stuff anyways. They really should have been. They're all raiders, but
yeah,
it was really neat to see how it went. And it's again, so many of this communication errors. How many lives were lost, or the history was changed because of people falling asleep and going back to bed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it was. I'm talking about in Holly Springs.
I know. Sorry, I was looking at something. You're talking about
paying attention. You have your attention span of a friggin' fly. Okay, fine. Okay, I guess I deserve that one. Apparently.
I'm sorry. Okay,
sorry,
so you're talking about the guy at Holly Springs, the Union guy that was eating dinner and drinking, and then he went to bed.
And it was no meager point I was trying to make, Mary. Okay. Anyway, whatever. You hear like circus music in your head all the time, don't you? It's so funny.
Ever since I met you, yep.
Diva. But yeah, Diva. Yeah, thanks for that, by the way.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate that. But I thought it was really neat though. When you got to read some of this stuff, and you knew damn well that when Murphy did get those orders, which I was talking about while you were whatever you were doing.
I was just looking at some of the comments.
Okay. But he basically gets those orders twice and
Yeah.
ignores them twice and goes back to bed. I mean, that's,
I think
you know what
Bruce
though?
was involved. I think he was like
Well, I was about to say
the
that.
first one was when he was drinking, and then he's like, "Fuck it." And then as you told the story about how he got the orders when he was still in bed, and then he was like, "Okay," and goes back to bed. But the other thing about him too is he had fucked up before when he was serving under Grant, and Grant just thought it was a one-off. Grant was like, "Okay, don't worry, people make mistakes." And then after that, the guy Murphy was gone. After that, Grant got rid of
Yeah,
him.
he was at a call me maybe level of drunk. I would imagine going to sleep that night.
He was probably drunk when
You
he
know,
signed those papers too. You know, when he signed the parole papers.
no, he
And
was at
then,
least hungover. That was, you know, that we talked about that. I think we talked about that in the podcast. But that was a huge mistake on Murphy's part to sign that parole. You know,
yeah.
because they weren't going to shoot him, right?
Mm-mm.
They weren't going to. It was either going to be either you sign the parole and you can't fight again until your exchange, or you just walk away and you start fighting again. If for some reason he just signed it,
Yeah.
and it's one of those mistakes. You know what I mean? But that's again that's how history gets you. But if could those 1,500 guys would have made it different? Probably not, because they would have.
But
They
still
would have retreated back
1,500
with
guys,
Grant
right?
anyway.
Yeah.
But you know what though? The thing, as you think more about it though, those 1,500 guys, they would have ultimately gone back with Grant anyway.
Yeah.
So they would have come back later in the campaign. But it's tough to say. But again, still a huge mistake by Murphy. It's something he shouldn't have.
Oh,
done,
exactly.
you know?
Yeah. John says that Rosecrans gave credit for being right about Murphy. Let me just go
Yeah, he
back
was
up
a train
here.
wreck.
Jacob on the what ifs. I think we like what ifs if there's a reason behind it, not just Harry Turtledove. Also do a what if Bragg reinforced at Fort Fisher. And then Ryan said Churchill was big on Civil War what ifs. British historians seem to be coming around. Niall Ferguson and Andrew Roberts in particular willing to speculate. And then Ali said, I think you guys mentioned in the podcast why Pemberton got confused later in the campaign. Our boy Ben Grierson came in and fucked with
Get my
Pemberton.
ass
The raid
yelled at
took away
again
his
for that
attention
one.
at probably the worst time. I don't yell at you.
Remember the time you said Grierson and everyone pointed and laughed at you?
Yep.
And
Remember the time you mispronounced Cairo? And Leonard said,
I do not recall.
Leonard said, good to hear y'all highlight Stephen D. Lee, who was one of the 3 park commissioners that established Vicksburg National Military Park and also the founder of Mississippi State University, where the U.S. Grant Presidential Library is. That's cool. Yep. I didn't know that.
Old Stephen Dill,
Yep.
he did well. He really, really did. He, and the thing about it is you can't underestimate, speaking of the Cairo, however you want to pronounce it today, was setting the Cairo down the Yazoo. It really did tip their hand. It really did.
Yeah.
There was really not much of an element of surprise anymore after that.
No.
I don't know what it mattered anyway, but Dill had that whole battlefield lined up, and you really had 3 real passes to make it to Vicksburg at that point, and he had them all covered. If he landed at that Johnson plantation, which they thought that's where he correctly assumed he was going to land, then they had no chance. And, isn't it funny with Sherman though, right? Is they get pounded.
Oh, yeah.
And he's actually going to try it again. And finally he says, you know what, fuck it.
Yeah, and then his men are like,
and all because it was foggy in that January morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. Otherwise he would have sent his best 10,000 guys, his best and his brightest, and they would have all got slaughtered. But because of the fog, and he realized he wasn't going to get there until after morning and after daylight, he calls it off and goes back. And I will say this about your boy Blingy, Mary, is he wears it. He wears the L hard. He doesn't try to make excuses for it.
He does. Although he does say that like the fortifications were a lot more than what they were. And Stephen D. Lee after the war said they weren't that bad. We just managed to throw them up pretty quickly. Sherman was caught off guard. And as you said too, the terrain really fucked them up too.
The terrain was hard. I mean, it was impossible.
Up.
You can't pass through it. I mean, you just can't. I mean, stumbling through the woods, in Gettysburg is tough enough today, let alone
with the possibility of a clown coming out.
Oh, you joke about the clown. That's a real deal. I don't know why you got to make fun of that. Hey, Ben, I told you, man, that picture was from a year ago. I wasn't down in Newport yet. Actually, you can tell by the beard. It was much shorter,
Yeah, it was,
actually. My eyes are up here. Talk about that. but the terrain is difficult though. In all seriousness, it really is. Especially when you're limited. You know, you almost like a picture, like a visualize almost like a D-Day type invasion where they're storming it, and it just it was tough. But Sherman was wise enough. You know, not unlike Cold Harbor later, where they kept going and going and going. He did realize he had to live and fight another day. Of course, he got the McClernand news right afterwards, which he didn't like that one bit. Speaking of clowns, you know, and, but it is pretty funny. But anyway, so hope everybody's having a good morning so far today. This is always a lot of fun. It's been a weird week, as they say. Yeah. So, do you want to talk about the book club real quick?
Yes, we should talk about the book club. So
we talked about the book club, right? And that officially launched today. We've actually had some people who've sent us their proof of their $5 donation, which is fantastic to do that. So once again, if you donate $5 to the American Battlefield Trust, you'll be entered into a lottery, which we're going to pull the names. What we say, 2 weeks, Mary? Right?
Yeah, 2 weeks from today we will, and we'll announce them on the Facebook
2 weeks.
Live.
We're going to pull the names, and the winners are going to receive 3 books. They're going to receive the Dr. Rubin book. They're going to receive Dr. Kate Surratt book, and they're going to receive Ken Masterson's book On the Retreat. Now, here is the surprise. Okay, so here's one of the books here. One of the books that we're going to be giving away. This is Dr. Kate's Assassin's Accomplice. And the surprise of this is because they're so nice to us, they all sent us signed copies. So the book you get is going to be autographed by the author. So
and actually, just clarification: each person gets 1 book. You said they get all 3.
Nope, they get 1 book.
Yes, you said all 3.
Well, I said all 3 will be announced. Okay. But 1 book, but the book you get. You put words in my mouth. The book you get is going to be signed by the author. So all 3 of those authors. We didn't do the first one, the Iron Mercy book, because we figured people had already bought it.
Yeah, and it was like not fair to do that.
So, but the other ones, we reached out to all 3 of the other authors who are all quasi friends of ours, and they all agreed, and they all sent us a signed copy. So the book you get, we're going to mail to you, will be signed by the author. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
so
it was really awesome.
Donate the $5, and the ABT will appreciate it.
ABT was really awesome this morning, and they retweeted us because I did a blog. We posted a blog post about it on our website last night. So if you want to read about it, just go to civilwarbreakfastclub.com and you can read more about it on our latest blog post. And John says, I want 3.
Well, John, you know, he might get all 3 if we pull his name 3 times in the raffle. He has to get $15 though, right? He could win all 3 theoretically.
Yeah. It's like every $5 and you get your name in. So
every $5 matters, Mary.
Yeah.
I mean, well, we don't expect to raise $1 billion with this, but it's fun.
No, it's just something. It's just something fun we thought we would do.
It's a good cause. It's something just for this little community of ours. This
and you guys have
breakfast club, which everybody is. Which is
exactly. Yeah, this is. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier this week. Like, this is like when we came up with the title for this podcast. It was just one of those kind of off the wall things that we were like, okay, yeah, we'll do that. It sounds good. But this has become the Breakfast Club part of it, which is hilarious.
Yeah, the listeners are the Breakfast Club.
I know.
This is it. This is Saturday morning hanging out. This is it. This is the Breakfast Club. This is pretty cool. And although I guess we're on some sort of detention, then that's why we're all here, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the movie, right? You know.
And Ryan, if I were supposed to go bankrupt.
We actually talked about that. We said if Ryan wins, it's going to cost a fortune to mail this book. But hey, you know what? We'll do it. We'll do it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Definitely. Hopefully, you participate in it, because if you win, you will get a book, even though it goes all the way over there.
Hopefully, it doesn't take forever to get to you. Mail is slow.
Oh, I know. But we'll see what happens. But hopefully, I hope he does win. I hope it's
Jacob,
there's surprisingly lack of breakfast. I mean, there's water, there's wheat, there's hops, there's barley. It's everything a growing boy needs. You know.
I'm drinking orange juice.
But I think it's. I had breakfast this morning before we started this, but I think it's fun doing this though, and it's something we'll definitely do again. You know, there's a lot of people who there's a lot of other books we can do. You know, I hope people are liking the books. I hope people like the Black Iron Mercy book too, because it was a fun book. But it was by design to that we picked that book first, and we're at the same point. We want to make sure we want everybody to read these books and learn from it. We also don't want to insult anybody's intelligence or be over.
We didn't want to give you guys right now I'm reading Lincoln's Lieutenants by Sears for an upcoming episode that we're doing about the Mud March and Hooker, and I usually just read it chapter at a time or whatever. And it is like, it's a gigantic book. And Sears, I've discovered, does not like Howard. And I was telling you this, he does not like Howard, and he blames Franklin for Fredericksburg.
Yeah, Fredericksburg.
Holy God.
When I first read Stephen Sears' Gettysburg Book, Mary, it was the first Gettysburg book I read a million years ago, and I remembered how matter of fact he was about things, right?
He's very matter of fact.
And it's okay, that's his opinion. But again, then you read other stuff and you realize, okay, we've said this a billion times. Read as much as you can, because opinions are different. We were on that lecture the other day, and he was very matter of fact about Longstreet.
Very pro Longstreet. It was very, very interesting.
And we're definitely the pro Longstreat versus Lee Camp, but I think he was a little too capital L Longstreet, I think, right? Yeah. But again, I thought it was I thought it was really, really good. But these other books, like, we're not going to sit here and say, okay, we're going to our next book is going to be Robert Crick. No. Yeah. It's a billion pages and it reads like a stereo instructions. It'll bore you. But if it's a good book, if you're really, really, really into it, but that's we want to have some fun books and talk about it. So
yeah, I mean, all these books are the place. I am too. And yeah, Allie B said that Lincoln's Lieutenants is a good book, but it's very detailed, as Sears usually is. I mean, Sears is a wonderful author. And he's got his opinions, and that's awesome. That's how he's looking at the evidence and interpreting it. I don't agree with what he thinks about Howard, but that's just him. And I don't completely.
But, for every author who hates a general, there's going to be an author who likes the
exactly.
general.
Yeah, it's about finding that. It's about finding that balance where you're not ignoring evidence. You know what I mean?
But like, you don't want to read like Sears' book on and say for that reason, well, for example, Oliver Otis Howard is a bad guy. Or if you read Douglas Sofall Freeman and you feel that, Longstreet is the worst thing since New Coke, it's just one of those things where you read more and you just generate a different opinion. But anybody who started that book, The Black Iron Mercy, chime in with what you think about it, because it's really, really cool,
Yeah. Allie B said, oh yeah, Sears is not a fan of Howard. The way he said it made me laugh, because I was like, wow, just throwing it down like that. Yeah, he does. He completely just, even in his book about Antietam, he doesn't like him either. Like, he's just not a fan, which is fine.
You know what? To each their own. To each their own.
Exactly.
There are some people, Mary, believe it or not, who don't like Dan Sickles.
I'm shocked.
There's a few people. There are some people who think that Stonewall Jackson has no flaws. But then there are right. But then there are some people who feel that Robert E. Lee has all flaws. So again, the more you read, the better. Yeah. So we'll have
Stonewall Jackson. Are you talking about the Claiborne of the East?
The Claiborne of the East, the King of Kernstown. But it's good though. It's fun. The more you read, the more this stuff kind of clicks in a little bit.
Exactly.
And the more stuff kind of makes sense. Like we were talking about Stones River last week, about why in the world did Davis pull those troops from Carter Stuyvesant away from Stones River? What was he thinking? And then you get into Vicksburg and you see why. You kind of see it kind of all flows. And that's why I'm glad we did Stones River, went right into this one.
I'm glad with the way we did. Like, we did Stones River, and then for Vicksburg, we started with Holly Springs, and that flowed into the discussion about Chickasaw, because they're all happening at the same time out there. And it really shows you, like, there was a lot happening, and it doesn't get talked about very much. John, the Claiborne of the East.
He is, though. I think he's a Claiborne of the East, right?
Is, yeah.
I mean,
yep.
Just reading campaign.
Yeah, just reading about like the battles Claiborne was in versus what Jackson was in. It's, to me, it's just my opinion. Like, that's how I'm interpreting it. I see him as being the far more talented guy.
I don't remember Patrick Claiborne complaining and wanting to take his ball and go home and quit the way Stonewall did in Virginia for Valley.
No, and I don't.
The governor of Virginia had to beg him not to quit the army. I don't remember Patrick Claiborne do that. But again, I'm going to go to VMI. I'm going to tell them the way it is. We'll see how they'll appreciate that. They'll get a kick out of that.
We need to do merch that is like, we need to do merch that is like a shirt with Claiborne and Stonewall on it with the like greater than sign. Claiborne.
Just Stonewall's overrated.
I'd have a picture of Claiborne.
Stonewall, more like paper wall. Well, it'll be a hero. We're gonna ask you.
Oh God!
If you don't get me killed at the mine, you'll get me killed down there at VMI.
the mine is where I'm gonna go in and say like, First Corps broke first. Stonewall Jackson was Claiborne of the East. It's like that question. That question I answered on Lampoon the other day. Like, what are some of the questions on the battlefield guide exam? And I said, who broke first and why was it the First Corps?
Yeah, God, you and your Lampoon. You create a monster with that one.
But Leonard, you keep mispronouncing Bowen as Claiborne.
Yeah, Bowen. He's a Bowen.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, it is funny, the historical memory we've talked about, the national perception, and you know, and people read about that. Gods and Generals was wrong. Believe it or not, John, the guy from Party of Five was not at Antietam. I was shocked. I was stunned. You know, that friggin' movie. My God, friggin' Wheaton is Howard.
Yeah, Howard. Hey, Ben, you've got your boy. I've got mine.
There's some psychological thing going on with Ben with Frank Wheaton. I don't know.
I can appreciate. I'm like that with Howard.
That's true. No, Frank Wheaton's a good dude, though. We'll have to talk about him.
As you say, we all have our binkies.
We all have our binkies. Yep, he's your binky, and Wheaton's his binky.
This week.
You what?
You said that like every day this week. You're like, well, I guess that's his binky. Yeah, when I was talking to you about Sears the one morning about Franklin, and he's like, well, I guess that is his binky.
I must.
When I was telling you about Lincoln's lieutenants and telling you how he was like slamming Franklin all over the place and defending Burnside, and you're like, well, I guess that's his binky.
Where are you going with this? But am I still here, by the way? You're saying some random things today. What the hell are you talking about? But he has his binky. Everybody's got their binky.
John Grant is my binky. Matthew Fox is the great-grandson of George G. Meade.
Yeah.
Stevenson at Champion Hill, on the other hand, not great. Leonard's boy Bowen has to roll in it to almost save the day, and Leonard said that he nearly wins that. Bowen needs more love.
Yes. And John Pemberton is the college roommate of George C. Meade.
Is he?
Pretty cool. Yeah.
That's interesting.
You mentioned that in the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At West Point. Class of 37, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They were roommates together. So they must have had some stories. You know, I can only imagine.
I can't imagine being roommates with Meade.
Why? Because you just get mad and stare all the time.
Probably.
He'd walk in from like 2 o'clock in the morning late, and he would just be standing there in the dark staring with his eyes. Like all his friends are drunk in the room at the dorm.
Yeah, and he's just standing all laid out,
and then Meade standing looking. Who took my last White Claw?
That picture is something else.
Oh, it's a great picture.
The eyes need to be enhanced even more on it. Just like the lasers coming out of it.
Oh yeah, exactly. But no, but it's funny though, and the Holly Springs thing was really, really cool because it kind of showed a real, you know, intelligence fail that Grant had. And then because he did get that message, but even the message from his cavalry to Grant down at Oxford, even that got screwed up because he got that late.
Yep. And then Sherman doesn't get the message, but he finds out about Holly Springs, but he assumes everything is going fine. But Grant had his communication severed thanks to not just Van Dorn, but what Forrest was doing as well. And Forrest was like outnumbered. And then I think it was Ed Bars made the point that this was the one and only time in the Civil War where cavalry were the ones to shut them down.
Yeah, it was the only time the cavalry helped disrupt an infantry campaign.
Yeah.
But you look at the guns these guys had, like you mentioned Nathan Bedford Forrest. They had those squirrel guns and shotgun. I mean, they had some shitty weapons. You know, it's like you're talking about Minty and Wilder with their laser guns and the stuff that they were able to buy their repeaters, you know. With their scopes and but it just goes to show the difference in the weaponry. But again, they were able to destroy that supply line to force Grant back. And 3,500 cavalry guys were able to disrupt an entire campaign to the point where it took 8 months, right, to finally take Vicksburg because of that. And that's why it needs to be studied more. People don't study Holly Springs as much.
Yeah, it doesn't just begin with Chickasaw. It begins with this Holly Springs because Chickasaw happens because of Holly Springs.
In the Groom book on Vicksburg that I read, that I did a lot of the research for this podcast on, does a really, really, really good job talking about that part of the battle. And admittedly, he goes way, 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 way back early. I mean, you don't even get to Vicksburg until
So when
halfway through the
mammoths
book,
were
but
roaming the land?
they talked about how the Continental Divide created Vicksburg, and the aliens came down and built the ridges. But
You mean the rolling hills?
the rolling, yeah, I didn't say right. They would have called them undulations because they were a smarter being, Mary. They wouldn't have called them rolling hills. Cheers to you. But again, it does talk a lot about the beginning of that campaign and what it does specifically about setting that up. But you talk about how history, how these things are like this. It can go either way.
Oh yeah, exactly.
This was one that was a biggie, and people don't study it enough. So people should definitely read more. If you're buying a book and you're reading about Vicksburg and it begins with Champion Hill, then that's probably not a good book. You want to get the ones that go in the very beginning.
Yeah,
you can go all the way
Miller's
back
good
to
for
Butler and New Orleans and
Yeah.
Nathaniel Banks and all Hudson and all that, because it tells the whole story. You really can understand the entire story by looking at the beginning of it and setting the whole thing up.
Yeah. That's what Miller's book about Vicksburg does too. Is it goes back to the very beginning. It sets it up very well with what the Navy operations had been too, which was really, I think that's important for understanding the whole campaign and why, like, just how tough of a place it was to take. Now admittedly Farragut kind of like, he just shows up and knocks on the door and is like, hey, you want to surrender? And they're like, we don't do that here.
Yeah, he ding dongs them and they said, nope, go away.
Oh, bye. We don't surrender here.
Well, it's funny. Well, Farragut, he attacks and then he goes back and says nope. And then he goes back again because Lincoln says, get your ass back there, and he gets noped out again. But that was, that was a tough thing though. I mean, but the Navy, we'll talk about the Navy in a future podcast about how important they were to Vicksburg. So obviously they were very, very
well, it's a joint
important.
Navy infantry or like Army operation, right? And that doesn't get discussed enough. Like, I think the Navy overall gets left behind in studying the Civil War, and they did some pretty important things during it, and they need a little bit more love.
Well, I mean, I think, what it was 8 or 9 times finally to take Vicksburg, different assaults. But yeah, there are books that just focus specifically on the actual siege of Vicksburg, and they do miss the point about that. But again, it's there is definitely a point because there's a lot. You can write a 300-page book just on the siege if you really want to.
Yeah.
But if you're buying those books and just reading about the siege, you're missing out because it's to get to that siege. You talk about the whole Duck River thing and about the flooding the canals and all that stuff because it's really interesting. It's really a fun read to do. And as we get into later podcasts about Vicksburg, we'll talk more about that. We should do. We get around July, Mary, is we should do the podcast on Vicksburg and not even talk about Gettysburg. Right?
I'd be okay with that. Could you imagine?
That's something.
You didn't cover Gettysburg. How dare you?
Oh my God. Gettysburg's my biggie.
There's an entire podcast devoted to Gettysburg. There's a couple actually devoted to Gettysburg. So, I mean, I think it's pretty well covered.
There are a couple. I saw ones. There's a couple ones. I mean, they're a good podcast, Mary. They're definitely good. I don't know why you're gonna make fun of them, but they're a good podcast.
I'm not making
I'm just teasing you, but we could definitely have some stuff to do. But again, I think the earlier point someone mentioned earlier was how important Vicksburg was in the grand scheme of things. And it does get overshadowed a lot by Gettysburg.
It does, yeah. There's a lot I think there's a lot of battles, especially in the Western Theater, that get overshadowed. And just back to, we're joking around about possibly not covering Gettysburg this year around the anniversary, but I think like we're covering stuff that doesn't usually get discussed.
Mm-hmm. We'll definitely kind of cover Gettysburg, but this other place. I mean, look, Gettysburg is great. Everybody loves Gettysburg, but I think you want to make sure you're doing equal justice to these other ones, and because Gettysburg, it's awesome, it's big, it's important, but you got to have Vicksburg, and Lincoln said it's the key that has to be in his pocket.
Yeah, and it's kind of like
that AP Hill ham bone, Mary. It's got to be in the pocket.
AP fucking Hill. Going to the old bang barn.
Hey, what's up, Al? Thanks for jumping
Al.
on. Our good friend Al from the Civil War Lampoon, the best Facebook page in all the land for Civil War. Definitely check it out.
Ali B said Tim Smith has some great books too, which I did watch some of that lecture that was posted on the forum too. And one of our listeners posted about that lecture that Tim Smith gave about Chickasaw, which is interesting. I need to finish watching it.
He's the other Tim Smith. Not our friend Timmy from Farnsworth House.
Yes. Yeah, there's 2 Tim Smiths.
Mm-hmm. Just like there's 2 John Pembertons. Oh, that's a
C
coincidence.
and M. John C. Pemberton.
C and S. C and S, right?
That's right. S invented Coke.
Did.
I'm finally learning.
Now, our friend Timmy from Sweeney's Tavern, you guys know Tim Smith. He's a lot of Gary Edelman's videos. He's a big mead guy. Speaking of mead, get him going about Gelzo.
I got to give Guelzo another chance. I mean, just look past how he is about mead. But then, there are some like Sears doesn't like McClellan either, but he's still he doesn't treat him too horribly. He just kind of, you can tell he doesn't like McClellan, but he's not over the top hating on him like some authors do. And Jim says, why are there so many books written about Gettysburg? Because people buy them. Why do people still buy Gettysburg books? Because there's so many of them. Yeah,
look, the thing about Gettysburg is it's a great battle to start with, because if it piques your interest to learn more about the other ones, right? Like, my first battlefield I ever went to was Bull Run. Either the first or second pick one. It was Bull Run. Okay. And I thought it was neat. It was really cool, but I didn't feel the allure to it that I did when I got to Gettysburg. Gettysburg was a whole different thing. And so once that happened, you start to like concentric circles your way out, right? Yeah. You start at the east, and then you start working your way west, and then it all kind of comes together. Someone like me has a definite pull to Gettysburg.
Me too.
There's no question.
I do too.
And I'll read anything that has the word Gettysburg on it.
Yep.
But again, start with that and then use it to expand your knowledge. Because it's if you think that Gettysburg is just the Civil War, that's like saying, that's like saying Valley Forge is just the Revolutionary War. Yeah, I know that wasn't a battle of Valley Forge. I'm trying to say pick one that you associate with.
I get what
Bunker
you're saying.
Hill, from my
I
Boston
get what you're saying. Hey, Christopher. And Christopher said, there's a reason
what's up, man?
People buy them. It's the most toured battlefield probably in America. It's probably because of the cathedral monuments. Yeah, it's like, and just like you said, Darren, I completely agree with you. If it piques your interest, that's awesome. And then you kind of go out from there. And that's like, Gettysburg was the first battlefield I visited when I was 10, and I felt an instant pull to it. And I've been there, I think 4 or 5 times since, and I still feel that pull. But then, I've been to Antietam, and I love Antietam, and I've been to Chickamauga, I've been to Lookout Mountain as well. And again, like, they're all amazing places. They're all so amazing to see. But, and if someone's favorite battle stays as Gettysburg, that's awesome too. We're all like, there's so many of us studying this that we can all learn from each other with it. And I can completely appreciate somebody thinking Gettysburg is their favorite battle, but I can also at the same time appreciate someone thinking Stones River is their favorite battle. I would never say like Wyatt, it's not as big as Gettysburg. Like, they could have had an ancestor that fought there, but Stones River is actually becoming one of my favorite battles. It's so interesting.
Biddles, have a great rest of the day. She's jumping off, so we'll catch you down the road. And so anyway, that'll be something. So anyway, so this is actually a sad moment right now.
Why is it sad?
Because this is my last Treehouse can until tomorrow, Mary.
Oh, geez, let me get out the small violin, you whiner.
So this is my last one. So Julie, this is my last. So this is going to be the end of Treehouse until tomorrow when I go to the brewery and spend a couple $100 more on Treehouse beer. So that's my day tomorrow.
Can I ask you a question?
Okay.
Would you like some cheese?
Oh, wow, look at you, huh? Okay, that's awfully nice of you. Maybe a good cheese would be pretty good. Good cheese tray would be nice. But yeah, but Gettysburg is a gateway drug. What's up, LK? How about them Gophers, eh? Doing well.
Yeah, Gettysburg was my gateway drug too. Ryan said Gettysburg has regiments from all the states. It's got the international observers and reporters. It's on the doorstep of the big eastern cities, the politicians. It's easier to mythologize for both sides. Yeah, that's true too. Christopher's been to Bull Run, Gettysburg, and Antietam. Jacob said Gettysburg used to be mine, but now it's a certain one near Wilmington. Al says my one gripe about
Gettysburg's my favorite.
Oh, it's my favorite too. Al's gripe about Gettysburg is that the monuments block the sight lines compared to Antietam. David says Stones River is my first and favorite. That's awesome. And Lori's Chicago, Lookout Mountain in Shiloh.
I gotta go check them out. Al, about 10 or so years ago, there was one about the monuments. This, and I agree with them about Gettysburg, the monuments.
Mhm.
There's 1,300 monuments. They're all over the place. But I was on Little Round Top one night. It was at nighttime, and it was a full moon that was behind me. So I figured you're looking at the out towards Houck Ridge. The moon was behind me, a full moon, and it glittered all of the monuments. Like the
That's
moon
so
reflected
cool.
off them, and it looked like about 1,000 little campfires
Yeah,
all across the battlefield.
that's
And
so
it was a
cool.
moon reflecting off of the monuments, and it was the coolest. And I've been there. I go there 5 times a year. I've never seen that happen except that one night.
It was so
But
cool.
picture looking out of the whole battlefield,
Yeah.
to Peach Orchard, all of it, all these little tiny little white looks like little fires,
Mhm.
because it was the moon bouncing up. And that was one of the coolest things I ever saw, and I've never seen it since. It was 2009, I think.
That is so cool.
That was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Maybe it was
Yeah.
maybe it was Ghost, man. I don't know, maybe it was a ghost.
Could be ghosts.
But it was probably the moon bouncing off of it probably was. But it was a very, very cool sight.
That's so cool. I do agree about the sightline thing too. Like that's the one thing about Chickamauga is, I've said this before, there's no statues of the generals there at all. Not one. Not even Braxton Bragg has a statue there.
No,
I'm shocked.
no. No, but I think Gettysburg is the largest outdoor statuary, I think, in the world.
It is,
I think in
yeah.
one place, and I think there's a place for it. I mean, it's certainly it's the Disney World of amusement parks. If you want to
It
look at
is.
that way,
It is. And it's like,
just,
as Ali K said, it's like the gateway, right? And you go from there. Ali K said, this podcast has made my to visit list for the Western Theater ridiculous. Yeah, the Western Theater is just, if any of you guys have not been out to the Western Theater, it is just as amazing. Like, I love Chickamauga as much as I love Gettysburg. They're two very different battlefields, but
I've been to Nashville, I've been to Kennesaw, I've been to Atlanta. That's the close that I've not been. We'll do a road trip, a Breakfast Club road trip at
yeah,
for Chickasaw, those places, and
yeah,
Vicksburg, all these
Vicksburg
places.
will happen.
We'll go.
Shiloh,
And maybe we can hang out with some people, our friends
Yeah.
here. We can find beers with these people. We go out there.
yeah.
Right?
Hey, once
If you feel like if you stop being antisocial, we can actually go out and do something. Maybe one bourbon doesn't put you under.
Do you know how many times I would? You're right about the bourbon, anyway.
I'm damn right about the bourbon. But we'll do that. Gettysburg will be the first one. That'll be the first.
Oh yeah, yeah. Once the border opens, I have a mile-long list of places I need to go, and Civil War Breakfast Club road trip will definitely be happening. Eastern and
Or
Western.
3 miles long, which is how long Van Dorn's cavalry was as he was approaching.
Look at you being.
I learned that in our podcast.
Did you?
I did.
I believe you said that.
Braxton Bragg. I saw Braxton Bragg was in that Fight Club, Mary. I saw pictures.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, he was a badass, apparently.
Bragg.
But the Western Theater, I will say, in all seriousness, though, I really, 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 really enjoyed Kennesaw Mountain and Cheatham Hill and all that stuff, because it was so cool to be able to walk. It was if anybody's been to Kennesaw, walk that mountain. You go from Big Kennesaw to Little Kennesaw to Pigeon Hill and all the way down to Cheatham Hill. You walk forever, but the breastworks are pristine. I mean, no one walks on them. No one screws with them. It's not like Gettysburg where the lunettes are kind of worn down.
Yeah,
they're the way they were. People walk it just as locals walk it for just a walking trail. But the shut-in bloodthirsty losers like me, these Civil War people, go out there but even they don't climb on the guns and climb. They just look at them. It's just the way it is. It's perfect,
Oh, I can't wait to go to Kennesaw. I've driven by it so many times and always wanted to stop, but never did. Because when you're with non-Civil War people like my parents.
Oh, there you go. But that's the problem. The visitor center is small. There's not a lot to it. But it's kind of like an Antietam little visitor center where it's small. You see a little movie, but there's not much to it. But it's really it's a spectacular place to visit. It was one of the coolest things. And if you're in Atlanta, you got to go to Oakland Cemetery too.
Yeah, and you know where we have to go when we're in Atlanta? We have to go to the Cyclorama.
Yeah, we didn't get to do that because it was the bars and stuff that we had more important.
I almost went to the opening of it. I almost bought tickets to the opening of it.
Really?
And I don't know why I didn't.
But Oakland Cemetery is all the Confederate generals who are buried there are all right next to each other. So you got Gordon, Iverson, Ambrose Wright. But you know what was kind of weird is we were there's a cemetery with all the Confederate dead from Atlanta who are all buried in the same area. And there's a big Confederate flag and there's a statue.
Wow.
They dug up that was a slave burial ground. They dug up the slaves and threw their bodies away and used that ground to bury the Confederate dead. Do you know that at Oakland Cemetery?
Oh my
so
God.
When you go to Oakland Cemetery in Atlanta and you see that cemetery, it's probably a couple hundred, but you'll see the gravestones. That was the site of a mass slave burial, and they dug them up and they put the Confederates there.
They have.
It's not like they had all the land. They had no land to do it. I think I'm gonna guess that was done for a reason, but that's but it's a cool place to visit, and it's not the best part of town. It's right near where the where that picture I posted was with the slave building.
Yep.
It's about a mile away from there. But it's a really cool place. Atlanta's a cool little city.
I really want to go there because there's a lot of history there, and I mean, I think when we go to like Chattanooga, like Atlanta's not that far. Charles says that Western theater battlefields as a whole have a more somber feel to me. Less intrusive statuary makes a clear picture of the battle's ebb and flow. Yeah, that's one thing I do like about Chickamauga is you can have a very clear picture of how things went.
Antietam's like that too.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, Antietam for an Eastern theater battlefields like that as well. Like,
you know what's was right Joe. Hey Joseph. He mentions before about the about he mentioned Monocacy. That's a good one too. That's like Kernstown. You can be there it doesn't take too long. But Kernstown was a weird one because
it's privately owned, right? Like the museum, it's guy's garage or something.
So we were there last summer and we pulled in and we were in Winchester for a couple of days and so me and our friend Bill, Bill, right? And so we want to go see Kernstown. So we pulled up and there's a gate, but it was opened. It was like a metal gate. It was in a neighborhood. So we pulled in, we drove down, and there's the Pritchard House, which is up there on the hill. And so we get out, we decided we're going to go walk around. So we parked the car, we're going to walk around. This guy's like, "Can I help y'all?" I'm like, "Well, just want to see the battlefield." "Well, I'll show you. I own the whole property." And it's basically, there was no cannon. There was just a big field. His garage was the museum. And and I mean, it was a Pulp Fiction moment, Mary. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought,
yeah, when you told me that after you'd been there, when I talked to you after, I'm like, oh my God.
But it was really, really cool. He was a very nice dude. He explained the whole thing to us. But it's not a battlefield. It's kind of like some of these places that the ABT probably needs to buy. Going back to our book thing, right?
Exactly.
Is because eventually, that guy could easily sell that land to a developer, and Kernstown battlefield is gone. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Which it would be like, well, I think, was it here? Jim made a comment that he wishes there were more monuments at Stones River. It's so hard to get a feel for what happened there at the current national battlefield, as only 15% of the battlefield's been preserved. Yeah, see, there's one right there that it's like only 15% is preserved. Yeah. And I think the rest is like covered over with like shopping centers and stuff.
I mean, you got to realize you're out of the point. Like here, like I live in the stone's throw from the city of Boston. Most of the Revolutionary War stuff's been built over. I mean, Bunker Hill, right, is a big neighborhood. Yeah. And they got a monument there, but there's a little field. But that's how these Civil War places are going to be, especially with a lot of stuff changing, politically with the Civil War going on now, is you have to be able to take advantage of this and hold this stuff because, you want your grandkids and your grandkids to go ahead and be able to see this stuff because, and that's why we talk about guys like Ben, about Dan Sickles, right?
Yep, exactly.
Hey, Ben.
Yeah. Hi, Ben. Welcome. Ben said that he was introduced to the podcast a few months ago by a Tattooed Historian podcast. Yeah, John's a great guy. He's a friend of ours.
Yeah, where's John, by the way? Where's Hetman?
I don't know. Introducing myself and saying hi from Michigan. A captain at Gettysburg, Benjamin F. Partridge was from my hometown, Bay City, Michigan. Ben, I am literally across the lake from you, I think. I'm in Goderich, Ontario. I'm pretty sure Bay City is.
Yeah, Ben, on a warm night, you could probably smell the trash.
My Uncle Ben was named after him and then didn't be interred. Weeks. Partridge was in command of the Michigan 16th at the war's end and was present at Appomattox for Lee's surrender. Looking forward to listening to the Breakfast Club going forward. Thank you very much.
I give you shit. I do. It's so funny.
God.
But no, the Revolutionary War. Yeah, sorry to bring up bad wounds, Ryan. Although you're an Irish guy, so you probably can appreciate the. But even a lot of Um, how you got? Yeah, that's working out well, Brian. Thanks for asking. It's things are going great here. Thanks for
Yeah.
asking. It's like that scene in Star Wars. Everything's fine. Everything operational. How are you?
Yeah, we're asking. Yeah, did you see the Han Solo thing
Yeah,
with
it's
Justin
fucking
saying,
funny.
"How are things going down there?"
Well, things are going swimmingly, as you can tell, Mary.
Yeah.
Things are going great. So,
At least you have an emotional
but
support Canadian.
well, it's got to have one of those, and of course the treehouse.
Yes.
But no, but that's why it's important because a lot of these battlefields are going to vanish. Now, some of these people who had really great foresight, Sickles, for example, at
Yeah.
Gettysburg, the people in Antietam, a lot of those places
And
have done a good
Chickamauga,
job.
which was
But
the first established
Chickamauga,
battlefield.
right? It was. But urban renewal and growth is going to
Yep.
eventually. The world is going to be all cemeteries and golf courses eventually, Mary. It just is, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's going to be theoretically. So
Yeah.
you got to make sure you take advantage of stuff now and buy the land
Mhm.
now. So that's why those guys at Battlefield Trust are really important. And we
Yeah.
can't
And that's why
stress enough.
we've been wanting to do something, and this will not be the only time that we raise money for them. Like, we've been talking about other ways that we can do that too, and just kind of raise awareness for what they do, because they are into looking after all the battlefields. They've done a lot of work with the Franklin Trust, I think, to get more of that battlefield preserved, which is important. Now the Pizza Hut is gone.
It's good.
The Pizza Hut where Claiborne was shot is gone.
Yeah, well, the Pizza Hut that Tilden had to surrender in is still there, though.
Tilden.
That's why they got caught. They all had coupons. They had to wait in line. They all got caught. That's why it took so long.
And Jacob Mayer, I'm the emotional support Canadian for everybody, apparently. By the way, you guys currently accepting applications to be Canadian. I already love Tim Hortons. Then you're Canadian. Can see Weeks is Canadian today. You gotta say
be able to say a boot, process, and say bed funny. Then you got it.
Bed, yeah. That's me. That's not a Canadian thing. That's a Mayor thing right there. Jim said, I would love to explore more of Missionary Ridge, but the neighborhoods have been so built up and the road's so curvy that I'm afraid if I could even find a place to park, that if I got out of the car to read the signs and monuments along the road, I'd probably get hit by a car. Yeah, it is, Jim. I have not explored very much of Missionary Ridge either, unfortunately, but I definitely plan on doing that next time I'm there. And I want to go.
We got to go to Wauhatchie.
Yeah, Wauhatchie's like on my list. And I do want to go, like, there's like, they call them reservations. There's the Bragg Reservation, the Sherman Reservation, where they had all their troops and stuff, I think, on Missionary Ridge. But yeah, it's a pretty shady area. There is a car dealership in that area that is literally, the sign says $100, drive off the lot.
Sounds like a pretty good deal.
It's so sketchy. It's like, I did not, like, at one point I'm like, I'm going to get out and explore. And then I'm like, you know what? No.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of these areas. That's how it is. I mean, but you still gotta go visit them there. Still gotta visit them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I definitely, Wauhatchie, when we go, is that's top of my list. And Lookout Mountain.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. And speaking of Leonard, he's on here. I definitely want to go see Vicksburg.
Yeah,
There's
me
no
too.
question.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing some of these places, Chickasaw is probably not the best neighborhood either, as I understand it. So we'll have to,
just
have to send you out there and let me know how it works out. And if it's safe, I'll come.
Let the Canadian go on ahead. Why? Because I'm a peacekeeper?
You'll be like the cavalry. You go make sure it's okay. Then
okay, that'll. I'll just wear a Canadian peacekeeping mission.
Just yell, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, she's Canadian. Leave her alone. It's safe.
We apologize for everything. Leonard, come on down. And Charles says, my gripe with Antietam is just about every other statue is Pennsylvania soldier.
That's true.
Yeah, they've got I think they've got stuff at Chickamauga too. There's a lot of Ohio stuff at Chickamauga.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what the states want to pay. I mean, a lot of these states didn't have money for this stuff. That's why you don't see a lot of these southern ones. I mean, hey Charles, we see him from our Lampoon. Good dude. And
Leonard, Chickasaw is not a bad neighborhood. It's no neighborhood.
Oh, I was just screwing around on Google Earth one day and it didn't look like it was the nicest place in the world, but who the hell knows? Jim, but you know what's a good example of shield? Yeah, exactly. It's a little shield, Yeah. But speaking, you look at where John Wilkes Booth got killed, Mary. Okay,
yeah,
is that area right now is in the median of a highway, and you can't really visit it now.
Yeah.
And so that seems to be a place that you know,
It should
people would
be.
want to visit.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to go there for sure. Like,
You got to jump this little thing. So you're not even supposed to go there anymore. It's on the site of Camp AP Hill, which I think is going to be changed its name here. To be honest, but
can you see me
you
jumping a
have to.
fence?
Oh God, I'll video the hell out of that. You know, it's not
Struggle.
really a fence. It's all it is a chain. It just hangs low. It's like a foot tall, so you have to climb under it probably. But it's not that tall. But there's a sign that basically says you can't go across this. It used to say no relic hunting, but now it says no trespassing, U.S. military, whatever. But I hear that if you go in there quick and get the hell out of there, you're okay.
Yeah.
And so, but if you actually go down that path, you can roughly find out where like the stove was, like the fireplace, I mean,
Yep.
of the house. And then you can get an idea. And some Confederate people put a monument or a little plaque right where he died. You can go see it. There's not much to it, but
I still want it. It's still somewhere I want it. Cause I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's
Lincoln and Booth are why I
history,
got
you
into
know?
the Civil War. That's why I got into the Civil War, was the two of them, you know?
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to,
You know,
I've always wanted to do the escape route as well, which I know you and I are going to do that when we hang out.
the escape route is
route,
awesome.
yeah, I
That
wanna do
was a
that.
great day.
Yeah.
That was a great day. I was definitely the wrong people when I did that though.
Oh, tell me.
This sucks, you know.
Gettysburg with my parents when I was 10 was not, they're like, we need to go. And I'm like, no. And then they had to drag me off the Lincoln Memorial because they're like, there's other things to see in this city, not just staring at Lincoln all day. So you have to walk away from there.
Gettysburg?
Yeah, Gettysburg had to be dragged away. I had to be dragged off the Lincoln Memorial.
That's not in Gettysburg.
We
It's
went to
Washington,
DC after.
You said Gettysburg.
I said Gettysburg, and then I said when we went to DC, I had to be dragged off the memorial. Now who's not paying attention?
I think you're making this whole thing up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I said it. I did.
Leonard said we go to Port
Lincoln Memorial-
Gibson and visit Van Dorn's grave.
Yeah, Van Dorn, jeez, God.
Van Dorn.
But you know what though? Holly Springs, he that was his day. Every
was
dog
his-
has their day, right?
Yep, that was
Every
his
dog has their
shining
day, and
moment.
that was clearly his day, you know.
Yeah, I was telling one of my friends about Van Dorn last night. They're not really into the Civil War. And I'm like, can I tell you about Van Dorn? And they're like, what about him? I'm like, he got shot because he took someone's wife to the bang barn.
That's a great story, though. It just is.
The dude, can you sign my card? Sure, bang.
He's smart. Good thinking. He's a doctor, obviously an educated man. But yeah, Jacob. So yeah, the crater of Petersburg. I have not been there. There's actually a guy buried not far from my house here in Massachusetts, named Charles Shipman, who was a captain who was killed not right near there, and so it's pretty cool seeing his grave. But I'd love to visit the crater in Petersburg. That whole
Me too.
that Virginia area. If you live in Maryland or Virginia or even southern Pennsylvania, you can visit like all these battlefields. Was it Denise who visited like 5 of them in one day?
Yeah, she did. Yeah, our friend Denise visited 5 of them in one day. Yep.
I mean, that's the dream right there. I mean, I visited.
That's my dream.
I actually, you know what though, Mary? Hold on. I was on Winchester, Kernstown, Antietam, and Gettysburg 4 in one day. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. I've done Gettysburg and Antietam. Never done 4 though. John said I did that when I stationed at Fort Lee right across the street that in Petersburg. Oh, he went down into the crater. I don't know if I want to.
I guess you're not allowed to go down. I imagine you're not allowed to go down there, but it sounds like Jacob might have accidentally rolled down the hill. It happens, you know.
Hey, it's Heckman. What's up, nerds? John, your
Hey.
ears must have been burning because we were talking about you about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's definitely good to see you. Good to see you, John. Glad to see you're doing well. Seeing some big changes in your life. I'm happy to see you're happy with everything. Seems going cool. So very exciting.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing the podcast this year too, as well. I think those.
Absolutely.
Those will
Jake
be
did
awesome.
7 in one day. So that's cool though. That's the stuff you got to do. I mean, and if you go to a lot of the small ones, you can do that without.
Yeah.
Like like Antietam. I've been in Antietam a million times, so you can kind of roll through it. Go to the cornfields and go to Burnside's Bridge and stuff like. Go to the Sunken Road and roll around in there for a while. But once you get out, once you do that, Antietam takes a full day to do it right. Oh, actually, you know what? I also 5 because Harper's Ferry, Mary. I forgot about Harper's Ferry.
Yep, there you go.
So I guess I did that too, but it's pretty cool. Harper's Ferry is awesome, by the way.
Yeah,
Absolutely
I
awesome.
have never been there before. I think that is one advantage that the Eastern Theater has over the Western is you can visit a lot more battlefields in one day. Whereas the Western Theater, it's like, you got Vicksburg and then like hours away is Chickamauga. And then you've got to drive over to like Nashville and Franklin and then Shiloh. Like they're all, I guess in the like, in the Chattanooga area, you could knock off like Chickamauga, Lookout Mountain, Atlanta, Kennesaw in a couple days.
Well, you could be in the East. You'd be the same
Oh
battlefield in
yeah.
two different. You could be at Spotsylvania and Chancellorsville at the same time, basically.
Yeah.
It's just they renamed. You could be at Manassas 1 and 2 at the same time, Mary.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
I was at all the Winchesters at the same time.
Wow,
So
you're magical.
that's like a bunch of times in one day. I mean, am I a
Look at you
hero?
go.
Maybe.
And Charles says the crater is seriously underwhelming, although the tunnel entrance is surprising for its close proximity to the rebel lines. The crater was such a shit show battle.
John, it took you forever to get across Burnside Bridge. That no one must have offered you whiskey like those the Fighting 56.
Yeah, they're like,
Burnside Bridge
we're
is
not
really, really
doing it.
cool, though. No, Burnside Bridge is really, really
Yeah, it
cool
is.
though.
Yeah, Antietam's a cool battle.
You can go see the McKinley / Starbucks monument right next to it.
Yeah, the Starbucks monument. You know what I should do? I should bring like a Tim Hortons cup with me and put it there in honor of McKinley.
Oh, you get yourself in trouble like
I know.
someone
Like the
put
beer.
a beer bottle next to 20th Main and got his ass yelled at by a ranger back in 2014. It was a while ago, yeah. Hey Tim, no, your book has not arrived yet, man. I'll let you know when it comes. I'm looking forward to getting it, but it has not come yet. So
Mail is slow.
mail
right
mail is at glacier-like speed, as you know. So always getting better. But I will definitely message you. I will hit you up once I get it. I'm looking forward to reading it. So thanks for sending that. Totally appreciate it. And
Wayne said you could probably make any two of Franklin, Stones River, Nashville, but the traffic in the area will prevent you from making all three. Yeah.
well, I mean, some of these look so close, but I mean,
Yeah.
when I did the Lincoln Escape Tour, Mary, last year now, to get from Washington D.C. down to Bowling Green, it was like 3 hours, and it's not that far. I mean, we stopped at Surratt's Tavern, we stopped at the Mud House, at the Mud Grave, we stopped at the Pine Thicket, we stopped Bryantown, but still, it takes a lot. I mean, it makes you wonder how the hell these guys made it down there so on just horses. How quickly? I mean, they must have been really going because it's vast area. And that, speaking of like preserved, you want to talk about a preserved place? Go to that Bryantown, Maryland, where Booth went through with Davy Harold.
Yeah,
because it is pristine. I mean, everything is still almost. I mean, there's still there's strip malls and certain things here and there, but there are parts you're driving through that you can tell this is literally what it looked like.
Wow,
you can just tell.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm definitely looking forward to that.
So your eyes will be fixed on the same things that John Wilkes Booth was on. Right?
That's cool. That's really cool.
Very cool.
That's very cool. Well, he's someone I've studied since I was a kid, so I'm looking forward to doing that.
We had a lot of fun. I told you I was at the Surratt Tavern. We did a tour. They actually offered me a job while I was there.
That's cool.
But because I was talking about Booth, I was explaining all these things. The guy's like, "You should work here. We have an opening. You want to work here?" I'm like, "I live in fucking Massachusetts. I wish I could though." He's like, "Oh," I was like, "That's too bad. If you change your mind, let us know. I could dress up like that, man. That outfit, and I could walk around."
Ooh, yeah, that would be awesome.
That's
like my parents took me to Henry Ford Museum when I was like 7, and I saw the chair for the first time, and I didn't want to leave it. So my grandma stood there, and I told her like the whole story about like Lincoln and Booth, like the assassination. But then I started talking about Booth's life, and I remember like there was times when like I would be somewhere at a family gathering, and I would just be like, my relatives would be like, "What have you been up to?" And I would start saying like, "Oh, well, can I tell you about Lincoln and John Wilkes Booth?" And it was almost like my mom wanted to come over and put her hand on my mouth to shut me up, because it's like, please don't do this.
So Mike Jenkins, hey Mike, we said we did the Booth Escape Tour. James Hall was our guide. They wouldn't let him in. What's funny about James Hall, right, is so Mary and I are both part of something called the Surratt Society, right, which is basically a historical site studying Mary Surratt in the Civil War. So James Hall does tours along with our friend Dave Taylor, right, of the Lincoln Escape Tour. Hall is of the belief that Mudd is 100% guilty, right?
Mhm.
As most people are. The Mudd family is so mad at him, they don't let him in the house when he does the tours. Isn't that funny? So the tour can go in, but Jim has to stay out because he's spoken publicly against Mudd. They don't let him in the house.
But
Isn't that
Mudd
hilarious?
is fucking guilty though.
But it's funny he mentioned that because I was thinking about this not too long ago. But because for that reason, the Mudd family does not appreciate people speaking ill, making his name Mudd, as they say. So they don't let him in the house.
You know how many times I heard that phrase going, you know how many times I heard that phrase growing up, your name will be Mudd?
Well, you think about it, you're giving tours of the whole thing,
Yeah.
and look,
That's crazy.
let's be honest, Mudd's fucking guilty.
Oh, he's fucking guilty.
Okay? But if you say that and you public about that on your tour, the Mudd family will not like you and they won't let you in the house. So he has to wait in the bus while everybody else goes in.
Jesus. That's crazy. I did not know that they were that
Yeah.
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny if you think about it. You're a tour guy, but you can't go to the place you're a tour of.
Yeah, sorry, you need to stay out because we don't like how you.
Oh God, imagine me doing that tour. Well, they'd love me in the Surratt house, though. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah,
Mary, 100% innocent. No.
Yeah.
I don't think she's 100% innocent, but I don't think she got.
I don't think she deserved to hang, and I don't think she's guilty. It's,
No, I would agree.
Jim said the Confederate line at Vicksburg is on my list for this year. I did the Union side last time I was there and walked 26 miles in 3 days. So let me finish. When I walk a battlefield, I walk a battlefield. Yeah, we were talking about that a few weeks ago, and I think Heckman Heckman got into that conversation too, where he was like, "You got to get out of your car," and you absolutely do. Like I see so many people at these battlefields, they don't get out of their car. They just drive.
Well, why would you go to a battlefield and just do the driving tour and just look out the window and get out and look at the monuments and get back in the car? The whole point is to walk. What's great about a place, like I mentioned Gettysburg again, is the places you can go, right?
Exactly.
Like one of my favorite places is behind the 20th Indiana Monument behind Devil's Den. Because you can park the car and you walk behind what Joseph Wheeler's monument is, the 20th Indiana, and you can walk down that hill and you can see that little area where the Arkansas guys and the first Texas guys there's a hill, like a little valley, and they would load up, run up the hill, shoot, and roll back down again, and then reload, and you could still see it. And if you go there in the summertime, it's all shit, those sticky little things that get all over your pants.
Burrs.
But if you go there, sticky burrs, what they call them, stickers.
Burrs.
People call them up there burrs. Okay, but if you go there, like I've been in Gettysburg in like November, right? And if you go there this time of year and all the bugs and all those things are gone, you can walk, you can actually see it. And there's no monuments or there's no trails or paths. So you can basically walk it. The other fun, cool thing, and I mentioned this last time, is if you walk the trail of the first Texas at Gettysburg. Yeah. So you start across the Emmitsburg Road and you walk and you go down those slopes and you go to the triangular field and work your way up. It is a great walk. It's not the safest walk because there's shit in those. I mean, we talk about the clowns. I mean, there's legit like rattlesnakes and stuff. If you walk through, because the grass.
You're talking to somebody who got stuck in a swamp at Chickamauga.
You know, but I mean, it's like chest high grass. My God, you'd be like way out of the grass. You'd be like, you can see you'd be so tall. But you're walking through that, but it's the place you can go and you can walk, and they don't stop you. And there's so many cool things and so many cool places. Bill Frassanito has that book, right? The photo book that Edelman always talks about. You get that book and you find the places. I love doing the then and now pictures myself.
Yeah, those are so cool.
And just redoing it. It's just so cool. I mean, look, a lot of people think, oh, that's fascinating. But I think it's the coolest thing. Like my real world friends think why the hell would you walk in the woods to go find a rock? Because why would it's just so cool.
I totally would. I've done that my whole life. And like, I do the same as you do at Gettysburg. You and I explore battlefields the exact same way, which is awesome. But at Chickamauga, and that's what I know you're absolutely going to love this part of Chickamauga, is going off the beaten path and finding the monuments that nobody ever goes to. And there's so many of them in the area of Snodgrass Hill. And that's what I love to do. I just love to go off the beaten path and see what monuments they've put in the woods, because it's so cool to find them. You know, I was, this one area at Snodgrass Hill, I wandered down it and I found I think it was North Carolina, these little monuments where some troops from North Carolina were. But you do have to be careful though, because you could end up in a swamp, which is what happened to me.
Well, that's the thing is you have to be careful. Like walking Culp's Hill, there are rocks with soldiers' names carved in them. You got to find. It's almost like an obstacle course, kind of like a finding little fun thing to do. And
Yeah.
there are
Well,
so many cool things to do.
That's why it's so important to walk, right?
It's going to the places in these battlefields that people, don't really look. They just don't have the interest to go look for. But if you have a real vested interest in finding like real history,
Absolutely.
these battlefields are the place to go. They really, really are.
Absolutely.
But you got to be with the right people, though. That's the problem. Is if you're not, then it turns into where are we going? But if you're a complete nerd level 10 people and looking for this stuff, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like you. It makes it so cool because that's the whole point of this is parking the car and going to find this stuff.
Yeah.
And putting yourselves in the shoes of these soldiers who walk in those same footsteps, right? And that's what's great about it. It really, really is.
Exactly. Yeah. And my thing that I want to do when we go to Chickamauga is park at the visitor center and then walk the whole Union line. It's about a mile up to Snodgrass Hill where the troops, where Thomas had the troops. I've always wanted to do that. And there's Chickamauga is amazing to walk around. There's so many different trails. And then I will go back out to Bragg's headquarters, even though I said I didn't want to. I'll go out there again. I'll see if he's still angry. See if my cell phone stops.
He's probably mad at you, probably.
Well, yeah, I was talking shit about him when we were walking out there. Doing a Facebook Live and then it dropped.
I mean, it probably had nothing to do with the shitty connection of these battlefields, realistically, but you never know. You never know.
It's just that's the only spot my cell phone will not work on that battlefield is at his headquarters.
Well, I'll tell you, when we're at Gettysburg, Mary, we're going to absolutely do this Facebook Live from Gettysburg in the battlefield. How fun is that?
That's going to be awesome. That's going to be fun. Yeah, and I know we've talked about that, about doing, doing a shortened version of the morning one, and then just popping up every so often somewhere to talk about, a monument or a part of the battle or whatever. Lori said, I've run 2 half marathons at Chickamauga. I've been wanting to get down there to do that. They do. I think they have they have a half marathon every year.
Are you going to run a half marathon?
No, I think they just have one. They have a half marathon, but then I think they have a 5K that you can enter, which would be.
No, but are you going to do it?
Not the half marathon part of it. I'll do a shorter 5K.
I think I'd pay anything to watch you run.
I used to run.
So that'd be fun. Yeah.
I look like an idiot.
Okay.
Not happening.
But yeah,
Not
definitely will. That'd be fun though, doing a half marathon. I'm sure. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure they do these you could do it in Antietam and Gettysburg very easily because it's all roads. You could. You have to close the roads down though to do it though. But I don't know. If they want to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, back to your point about the Facebook Lives. That's going to be so much fun doing that. Just randomly showing up somewhere and then doing a live for a few minutes and moving on to the next area. And
we'll do that. We'll do that between your peer trips.
Excuse me.
We just left Fourscore, and this is the site of Robert. This is Long Lane, where roads. Blah, blah, blah. Now we just live Blue and Gray. This is the site where all road is out. Great live, we'll do. It'll be a lot of fun.
We'll get progressively drunker as the day goes on.
Oh yeah, because we've never done that here. But it is in all seriousness though, it is cool though. In Holly Ridge, there I go again. Holly Springs.
I was waiting for that.
Stupid. It's
so funny.
Holly Springs will be a fun place to visit, as will be Chickasaw Bayou.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. So Leonard, when we come down to Vicksburg, you have to give us the nickel tour. And I'll look forward to that.
Yeah, no, that'll be awesome to hang out with. When we go to the battlefield, it'll be awesome to finally meet these people and hang out with them a little bit as well.
Yeah, we'll be able to do this Breakfast Club live. So
yeah.
I still run before COVID. I actually got more active with this COVID thing.
Me too.
I know you have too.
Yep, I have.
Because you get to sit at home and just do nothing, or you can actually go out and try to be physical. So it's definitely try to be more physical.
Oh yeah, I definitely increased the amount I was working out and stuff and staying on top of that.
But what so we always do this every time we do these lives, Mary, is what did you learn, right? Yeah. So when we talked about Holly Springs and Chickasaw, what was the thing that jumps out of your mind? I mean, we both know this, we both study this, but it's fun to really get into it and really focus on it. What were some of the things that you really learned from this one?
I think the importance of Holly Springs and how it changed the way I looked at the whole campaign, to seeing Holly Springs that December 20th is, in my mind, that is the beginning of the Vicksburg campaign, to see how that, if that hadn't happened or it went differently, how it would have changed everything. And Vicksburg could have gone a whole lot differently. So that was my main takeaway of it. Again, that it was like Van Dorn's kind of redemption. I think that he actually performed pretty well there. And then just, I think looking a little bit more closer at Stephen D. Lee as well. That was interesting from the Chickasaw. How about you?
Yeah, I think those are really two. The two. I was going to say three things, but that was two of them. The first one was how well organized the Earl Van Dorn raid was.
Yes.
Considering we had 3,500 guys, 3-mile battle line. Now, he left all his artillery behind, so he relived the mistake he made at Pea Ridge, but he pulled it off. And he did it 100% success, that he actually turned back an entire infantry campaign. Stephen Dill Lee, obviously, he correctly surmised where Sherman was going to go, and he was prepared for it. He did a great job with that. The other thing was Sherman's humility with this.
Yes, I was just thinking that. I was just thinking his humility with this.
Was he was a guy, when you think about a lot of these generals, okay, and I think of Longstreet, for example, who will never, or Sickles, will never admit to the mistake, okay?
Yeah.
This is a guy, Sherman, who two times, he admitted what a disaster it was. He had some great quotes he talked about. We came, basically with the phrase, we saw, we kicked ass. He basically said we came, we saw, we failed. And that era of the military investigation committee, all that stuff we talked about, to sit there and say, I fucked this up, is pretty rare. And I think that goes to show about Sherman, like we talked about, Mary, where he didn't have these aspirations that a lot of these guys had. So he just didn't seem to care. He's like, he was a military guy. He had no political ambition, so he didn't care. But I think that reminded me a lot of Lee at Gettysburg saying, this is all my fault. Yeah. Right? And it was very similar. Those are the things I really learned from this. And I got a lot more respect from Sherman, I think.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. Like, I can, and just as you mentioned Sherman's humility, that's exactly what I was thinking, was like, oh yeah, his humility as well. But I think you're right. Like, with things like the Joint Committee on the Conduct of War, yes, you are right there.
I'm going to make Darren, you are right as my ringtone on my phone.
Darren, you're right.
But I think, Darren, you are right. But I think, I think that is true, though. I think that, and that goes a lot. And I think that resonated a lot with a guy like Grant. I'm not sure, to be honest, if you had sodium pentothal and put Abraham Lincoln under, what he would have thought of Sherman in these moments, whether he'd be reckless, unprepared, not motivated. I mean, it's interesting to see how he would have looked at this stuff, because and that was the other thing we talked about, Mary, was January 1863 had to have been the bottom of Abraham Lincoln's life, as far as I mean,
absolutely.
This is a guy, who had a lot of shit happen with the 1862 with Willie and all the stuff he happened. This is a guy, you're coming off of a really bad loss in the East in Fredericksburg, right? Now, you have Stones River. Okay, he wins that, and he gets to put out his Emancipation Proclamation on the 1st of January. But he has all this other stuff in the West going down now. And could you imagine him sitting at the White House, okay, just sitting there chilling, thinking about everything? I got Grant, got beat by cavalry, okay? I got Sherman, got his ass kicked. Yeah. I've got Burnside stuck in the friggin' mud, not doing anything. I've got politicians pissed that they're issuing the Emancipation Proclamation. I've got soldiers saying, I'm not fighting for them. This was not part of the deal. And you have the election coming down the next calendar year. Yep. Right? So those are the things you think about. And when you take this all stuff in a context, right, of how this whole thing kind of played itself out. And these are the things I think about at home when the power goes out, admittedly. These are the things
I think about too. I will lay awake and wonder, like, how did he feel about that? And there's been times where I'll be like sitting there, and admittedly I talk to myself, and I'll be like, why did he do that? Why?
I just think, you think about a country in complete chaos.
Yeah.
And, and you think about today's society, and it's you know what? Yes, it's not like it was back then. Yes, it's fucked up now, but it wasn't fucked up. It's bad, okay? But although you can make the case that it's fucked up now because it was fucked up then, it was never fixed, and there's a million okay, we'll go with that whole thing. But again, you realize the importance of what would happen in 63, because 63, Mary, as you know, this continues on badly for the Union in the early part of 63 until July, when everything, right? You got Chancellorsville, obviously, and then you got this, but then you got Chickamauga, which is going to come later that year.
Yeah.
But then you're going to have some things turn. But I think that early January 1863 must have been a really bad place for Lincoln psychologically.
I think it probably was when he was at his low point, as I think you've said before too. But he's got his emancipation, which is probably the high point, and he's got Stones River as well. But he's got all this other shit going on, and then you have McClernand writing him, and he's like, "Dude, I have enough going on. Leave me the fuck alone."
But even even the emancipation though, I don't know how much of a high point that was. For one, it was a military thing. It wasn't. There was no law. I mean, I can proclaim, like that episode of The Office. I declare bankruptcy. Doesn't mean anything.
I don't, because I have never seen The Office.
You got to watch that. That. But the Emancipation Proclamation really was just a proclamation. There was no teeth behind it until the 13th Amendment came along, right? So, but what he did was, he did that to keep Europe out of the war.
Exactly.
But what that did was it also fired up a lot of the peace Democrats in the North who were like, "What the fuck? What?" And so, I'm not sure that was a high point too. I think he did that, and he did that after Stones River and after Antietam because he didn't want to come across as being desperate. But it was desperate. It was,
yeah. But it also made what they were fighting for like a thing. Like they were clearly fighting for slavery, so it was like a game changer for the war. So then because I know, like, Claiborne, when he drew up his own emancipation, he said, he's like, okay, now Europe's going to take us seriously because we can say we're not fighting for slavery, and we can just say that's Northern propaganda. Like, that was Claiborne's whole thing with his emancipation. And of course he's telling this to slave owners, and they're like, no, dude, this is what we're fighting for. Like, like Claiborne was trying
England was considering supporting the Confederacy right during the Battle of Antietam. It was Antietam did change it, admittedly, but in that the Emancipation Proclamation did. But that was not exactly a universally popular thing, even here in New England. It wasn't. You had a lot of abolitionists here, but a lot of people were not fighting, for other people. They were fighting to save the Union, and so it was a sea change that was a necessary sea change. But I think he caught as much grief for that. I think he caught a lot of flack politically for it. History shows it as the right thing to do, which it was. But at the time, I think he had a tough time with that politically, which he obviously certainly did. Hey, what's up, Richie? Where you been, man? Hope all you well.
Darren, there's a comment on here I definitely want to mention to you. Benjamin, from the guy from Michigan, he said that Saginaw, Michigan's Hoyt Library, there are nearly 800 Lincoln assassination books donated by the Mudd family.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's put a link to it. And I think he said earlier, too, there was another one that I thought I saw Mudd's name come up when we were talking about that I had wanted to make sure that you saw. So Benjamin said Dr. Richard Mudd of Saginaw, Michigan, fought his entire life to clear his grandfather's name. He died in 2002 at the age of 101. The family was in federal appeals court in 2003 standing in a lawsuit alleging that Samuel Mudd should not have been tried by a military commission. It's interesting.
Well, that's one of the biggest cases. If you read Assassin's Accomplice by Dr. Kay Larson, there's a whole chapter, good segue though, talking about why it was in a military tribunal versus, and what it comes down to was, it was wartime. And it was like trying, in their mind, and there's a quote in this book that she says, which sticks in my head. She goes, trying them in the military makes sense. You would not try a soldier in peacetime, or you would not try a soldier who killed a soldier in war in a non-military trial. They considered it a war thing, and that's why they did it. But read the book. When you read the book, you'll see. But
the book is really good.
Dr. Mudd meeting with Booth and John Surratt in Washington D.C. That's what implicates him. That's the end of the deal.
Yeah, I have someone in my family that It's actually my mom. She's been a Dr. Mudd person her whole life, and she'll question me. She's like, "So, do you think he was?" I'm like, "Yes, Mom, I do." You know. Oh, hey, Joe. He says, "I hate that I work on Saturdays now. I miss hanging out with you guys." Well, glad you came on though.
Yeah, and thanks for coming by. We had a lot of fun when you did your lecture when we were on a few weeks ago. That was a good time. So
hi, Lisa.
Definitely look forward to getting you on here. Yeah,
cool.
It's nice to see our old friends jumping on here.
Yep.
But I mean, let's talk. We're gonna a couple weeks from now, Mary. Yep. We're gonna have our friend Lisa on.
Yep. She's on the Facebook Live right now.
No, Lisa Samia. Is she on?
Yeah. She popped on. That's why I said hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa Samia. But she's gonna be. She's gonna be on as a guest. We're gonna talk about John Wilkes Booth, and we're gonna talk about Asia Booth. And we're gonna talk more about the beginning part of that. So,
and I have the book has shipped. I've ordered Asia's book, so it has shipped. I should be getting it Monday. So
that's a good book, and
I'm looking forward to reading it.
That's a book that Lisa Samia enabled me on, Mary.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm glad she did, because I read that. That was a good book. That was and it's great insights. So we're going to have her on as a podcast guest. So we're going to talk about that whole thing. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
No, me too. I've always been interested in like John Wilkes Booth since I was like a little kid. As I was learning about Lincoln, I was simultaneously learning about Booth as well, and I could talk about the two of them, pretty much, whatever. But I admittedly didn't talk as much about Booth around some people, and I've kept that a little bit more quieter. But
you gotta be careful about that whole. But you know what though?
But now
what's interesting.
What's
interesting about him, and we'll talk about this when we have Lisa on, right?
Yeah.
Is the perception that this was a guy who killed animals and ate children and made pentagrams is just simply not true. And when you read his background and his history, it's a very different thing than the John Wilkes Booth history teaches us. So we're going to have a great discussion about him, about what that was. We're not going to sit here and try to tell you John Wilkes Booth is some sort of friggin' angel, because he's not.
Exactly, he's not.
It's going to talk about a part of his life where it was a lot different. And it's a part of his life that I think a lot of people don't study. And it's one that I think is a necessary one, because anytime you're going to study anything or anybody, you've got to do a full 360 on
exactly,
it, right?
Yeah. And you've got to look at the darker side of it too. And to look at to just think that Booth appeared at about 10:30 on April 14th, 1865, and then disappears after he dies, is not knowing the Lincoln assassination. It's not knowing who Lincoln was as a president. And it's not looking at who this person was and what his motives were. It's just you're not getting all the history there. And I get that for some people it's uncomfortable to look at, but like you said, we're not condoning what he did. But this is a guy who afterwards people at Ford's Theater said, there's no way that's not the John we knew, kind of thing.
But I mean, he was obviously pro-Southern, was pro-slavery. His family had slaves, but he's also a guy, Mary, and you read this in the book, he used to go out and bring candy to the slaves. He would go out in the fields and he'd give chocolate. No, that doesn't mean it's like, I'm not going to sit here and say that's a great thing because he has fucking slaves. But I mean, there's a different side of him that as he gets older, and once he gets his head filled with a lot of this propaganda, this anti-Lincoln stuff, something snaps. And that's what it comes down to. The John Wilkes Booth before, say, March of 1865 is a different guy. And that's the stuff we're going to talk about. It's a really interesting talk. So it would be awesome to have Lisa on, because she's one of the experts on Booth. She's a fellow Boothie, which is great that she.
We're both Boothies. So and the term Boothie, should explain, is not a negative term. It is just somebody who, I mean, it's got negative connotations over the years, unfortunately. But Boothie is just somebody who studies John Wilkes Booth, and it's like you have to study him, because like in studying him, I learned more about Lincoln. I understand the assassination a lot better, but I enjoy studying the other figures in the assassination too, like David Harold, like Dr. Mudd, Mary Surratt, which I am definitely team Mary.
But Jim brings up Boston Corbett. He's another one guy, and he's a guy got religion in the head, lost his mind, went on a speaking tour afterwards, disappeared. but there's a lot of it. And just because you study somebody doesn't mean you admire them. It just means you study
Exactly.
them. It just, you learn from them. And
Yeah, and I have friends. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I think society would be better off right now if we didn't hide from history, if we just studied it and learned from it.
I agree.
And you can make your own judgments. But I think the reality is there's a good, a bad, and ugly to everybody you study. Yep. And the more you study, the more you read, the more you can make your own opinion and more make an informed opinion. And that's exactly. That's all we're doing.
Oh, I completely agree with you. And that's one of the things you and I talked about with this podcast is we were going to study things and look at and talk about things that might make people a little bit uncomfortable. They might not, and people might be like, why are you doing that? As somebody who has been judged for studying certain historical figures, mainly Patrick Cleburne, I do not admire Cleburne for who he fought for. I don't agree with that at all. But to study him as a person and as a general, to see the talent that was there, it's fascinating to me to see his reasons for fighting were so different from some of the others that he didn't fully grasp that cause. It's just like to study Booth, you're learning more about Lincoln.
And Mike mentions, didn't Powell say you don't have caught half of us? And that's part of the fuel that Otto Eisenschimmel's book came out with later about the conspiracy about that. I mean, he was probably talking about Sam Arnold's and Michael Laughlin and Thomas Jones and those. I mean, actually, he wouldn't know Jones, but those type of people. But there's a conspiracy about Stanton about that, and there's a lot of stuff you can read. And like I said, Eisenschimmel, read him with a grain of salt, but he's a good read. I mean. You can read Finest Bates' book if you want to read about him surviving and living, all that crap too. But there's a lot of stuff you can do. But Powell's an interesting cat too, though, Mary. I mean, we'll talk more about him.
Yeah.
Is a guy, people don't realize that Lewis Powell fought at Gettysburg, the Second Florida. He was somebody who was very good with medicine as far as help. He would, when he was a kid, he would catch animals injured and he would bring them back to health. And his nickname was Doc as a kid, so when he got captured, he was brought to the where Gettysburg College is, old dorm. That's where he was. And he ended up basically helping the Union soldiers help nurse the Confederates back to health again. And I mean, he was a nut. I mean, he was.
Oh, absolutely.
But he ended up meeting someone. He had a girlfriend who basically helped him escape from jail. Out of Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was a bad dude. He beat the hell out of a slave woman. In the same building where Camden Yards is now, that warehouse. He lived there. And so if you're at Camden Yards, you look at the warehouse in right field, Utah Street, that's where he lived, and he beat the hell out of someone. He ended up escaping, joining Mosby's Rangers. And while he was on the run, he lived with a family called the Paynes. And so there was a kid named Lewis Payne. So he would use that name when he was arrested going forward as a fake name, and that's where the name Lewis Payne comes from. But he's an interesting study too. And we could talk about him and where his head is.
I think we have many episodes that we're going to do about the assassination because it is something you and I are very, very passionate about. Ryan says that, but in studying them and talking about them, are we giving them the legend and fame they sought? There's the argument that the best punishment for assassins and terrorists is to bury their names and deny them the oxygen of history. Not sure I think that, but I have some sympathy for the proposition. I think, Ryan, as long as you are like looking at it, I guess, objectively, like not looking at the truth, not like the lost cause.
I think the danger with that, Ryan, is not seeing the other side of it. And learning from it, because there's a lot of misperceptions about that stuff. And look, there's a difference between studying and memorializing, and that's what a statue people don't get it, right?
Exactly, that's the lost cause.
You can take a statue down of Nathan Bedford Forrest, okay, in Tennessee. It does not mean you're erasing history. You're not taking his name out of books. You're not erasing him from name, okay? All you're doing is you're taking down the effigy that memorializes him. Okay.
Exactly.
So when they're taking down a statue, they're not taking history. What they're doing is they're taking down a memorial to a guy. And that's a totally, totally different thing. And that's where the statue people miss it. That's where they miss it. But I think you have to study them, because the only way to learn from the future is to learn the past. And if you deny yourself learning the past, that's when shit happens again. And
Yep.
unfortunately, we're seeing it again.
Yeah.
You know?
If you only study one side, you'll never understand, you know. And I mean, like I said, I'm a person who's been judged because Claiborne is one of my favorite generals, and it's assumed that I must support what
Well,
he
that's
did.
not why they're judging you, but that's okay.
Well, I know I'm weird too. I get it. Canadian, and I can't pronounce shit.
Short. Yeah.
That too. Well, hey, so was Sheridan and Warren.
No, but I think the, you know what, like we said before, the more you study, the more you read, the more you can make an informed decision, and you can make up your own mind with this stuff.
Yeah.
No one's going to sit here and tell you. No one's going to sit here and say John Wilkes Booth was some sort of great freaking dude, because he wasn't.
He wasn't.
But
no.
I think understanding what made him tick can help understand the era and help understand stuff going forward. And especially the Civil War, there is no more important 4 years in American history than the American Civil War, because it resonates to this day.
Exactly.
And schools don't teach the Civil War because it's America's black eye.
Yep.
But they need to, because if you don't study it, you're going to have stuff that's been repeating over and over and over again.
Exactly.
And you have the Confederate flag being brought to the fucking Capitol.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But again, you have to, and people are going to look back 150 years on this era, and they're going to see, and they're going to hopefully make those decisions based on now. And it's all learning. This whole thing is a learning experience for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've learned, like, I mean, I certainly have learned a lot from you in the last, so we've been hanging out now for like 8 months, something like that.
Seems like 10 years.
I know. God. David said thumbs up to Claiborne.
My life more than last.
Fucker. David says thumbs up to Claiborne. Yeah, Claiborne he's fascinating, and he's so different from the other Confederate generals. And he's, as Darren and I discovered, he is a Mason, which is so fascinating. About him. He's highly respected, I think, on both sides. And yeah, like I said, Stonewall Jackson is the Claiborne of the East to me. That's just my opinion. But that's how
I don't think you're wrong with that, though. I don't think
that's
you're
how
wrong
I
with
feel
that.
about it, because Stonewall Jackson is so immersed in the Lost Cause mythology. Like, I'm looking at it from a military standpoint too. Comparing these two people, Claiborne fought a lot of harder battles in tougher situations than I think what Stonewall Jackson ever faced. You know, but Stonewall Jackson died at the right time. You know, and Claiborne was obscure because of the slavery thing. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Claiborne died of Franklin, but Stonewall was Virginian. He was religious. He was a legend. The whole deal. And it's fun. As time goes on, the best thing that ever happened to him was historically was getting killed, unfortunately.
Exactly. And he is the poster child for the Lost Cause myth. He factors into it beautifully. I shouldn't say beautifully. It's not beautifully. It's horrible how he's been elevated because of that. And his history is very obscure, or like obscured because of that. Whereas somebody like Claiborne, like, he doesn't fit into that, so he doesn't get talked about. And his emancipation was not known for years. That was not discovered until somebody was rifling through the Jeff Davis's desk and found this holy shit happened.
That's true. And history proved him correct. And there was that quote by, I forget who said it, but if we arm the slaves, then what are we fighting for? What was this whole thing about?
I can't imagine what that meeting was like for Claiborne. How off he's like, guys, I got an idea, and then it's like, oh.
Hardy's probably he's just drunk again. Get back on the whiskey.
Hardy's probably kicking him under the table and being like, dude, stop right there. Except Claiborne didn't drink, though.
But Ryan, you're right, though. We do miss the hard stuff in schools. And I remember when I was in high school, we got the American Civil War, and I was excited to learn about it. And we did the whole Civil War in a week. It was Sumter, it was Gettysburg, and it was Appomattox. That was the three things. And so it just gave you enough to study more. But even when I was in college, or as you say, university up there in Canada.
Well, that's what we call it.
We call it college here.
We have colleges here, but they're different than universities.
It's just a euphemism thing. We say I'm going to college. We don't say we're going. It's just a thing.
We're weird up here.
Whatever.
I'm not representative of all Canadians.
Oh, but hey, congratulations on that silver medal on the World Juniors, by the way, hockey. Congratulations on that. That was awesome.
I'm happy because either way, Boston College kids won.
Yeah. So good for my BC Eagles winning that. But was going to say, but I think people don't like to study it because it's an embarrassing part of history. People don't like to admit to the fail, and that's what it is. And there are still people. You've been to the South, Mary. You talk to some of these people.
Oh my God.
They just is a different reality. And when I mean South, you can go to South Pennsylvania and hear this now.
Well, imagine being at Chickamauga Visitor Center like I was, wearing the Sherman shirt and being like, "This is my favorite general," and the guy saying he was a murderer, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, I wore a Gettysburg T-shirt to the Boone Plantation in South Carolina. You would have thought I peed at the Vatican right in the floor. I mean, they were just, that's, some lady said that's very insulting for you to wear that here. It's like, oh, whatever.
Oh,
I mean, first of all, I didn't wear it to be on purpose, which I'm sure I did probably, but I just was like, all right, well, sorry.
One thing that I want to mention, Jim mentions the Nathan Bedford Forrest statue. I think it's along I-65. It's so hideous.
That gold one?
It's now pink.
That's awesome.
That statue, what I say about it is they had a contest for 5-year-olds to draw your hero. And somebody drew Nathan Bedford Forrest and won, and they made it into that statue because that's exactly what it looks like.
It's fun to do.
It looks like a 4 or 5-year-old drew it, and they made it into a statue.
But we also, we talk about the lost cause, right? But there's also the northern version called the just cause.
Yep, which we
have to look at too.
Yep.
Where it talks, and I know, look, we all like Grant, we all like Sherman, okay, we all like Lincoln, but there's a certain history that goes into this, especially Grant, where where he had his moments too. Holly Ridge, notwithstanding, Holly Springs, where there's a certain deification of guys like that too. So it goes on both sides. But winners get to write the history, and if you're at the South, Virginians like to write the history.
But there is definitely and that's why I always tell people, when you're studying the Civil War, look beyond Grant, Sherman, and Lincoln. Look to these more obscure figures as well. Not really obscure figures. I mean, I think they're starting to have more of a voice, but for every Grant and Sherman, there is somebody that is equally interesting, with an interesting story that has another perspective on it. And as Sherman said in his own memoirs, there could have been 100 people in the same room and they would tell a different story. Howard's perspective on taking Savannah or Fort McAllister is different from Sherman's. Howard's having to come back, writing his memoirs in the early 1900s and say, hey, you know what, it was actually me, not Sherman, that gave those orders. It was my men who took McAllister. It was not Sherman. He's having to come back and save himself.
Yeah, Jim talks about his late husband going to school in Murfreesboro, but the Civil War drilled in his head from the Southern perspective. My nephew, who went to a school called Bishop England High School in Charleston, South Carolina. This is 5 years ago. He graduated. They taught the Civil War 5 years ago is the War of Northern Aggression. That's the phrase they used. This is 5 years ago. This is not 1980 back, a million years ago. This is 5-10 years ago. So that's still the mentality. And I think until this country can look at the details of this war and really look at it, face just an up close, real look at it.
Yeah.
It's the only way this country is going to move on from it. And,
exactly.
And that's the one thing Shelby Foote said in his Ken Burns documentary that I agree with. Well, he said a couple of things, but that one specifically when he said, you cannot understand 21st century politics and culture without a real deep knowledge of the American Civil War. And he's right about that.
Yeah.
Because everything good and bad in this country today comes from those 4 years.
Exactly.
And the open wound, the open wound that was not healed because of the Lincoln assassination. And that's where Booth is really guilty, Mary, is what he did today. Not so much then, but what he did, resonated going forward because of what Andrew Johnson did for Reconstruction after the Civil War.
Exactly.
And how it fucked the whole thing up. Where you have basically, okay, you're free, but there was no education program, there was no rehabilitation program. They just said, be free, and that was it. The 40 mules, and that was gone. All that stuff was gone.
That was thanks to Stanton and Johnson that got taken away.
And so there was no way to assimilate these new freed slaves in a society. Okay. Now you look at, and Ryan will correct me on this one, but this slavery was banned in England, I think in 1826 or so, right around there.
Mhm.
And there was a much better assimilation program into society.
Yeah.
The United States just said you're free to go,
Yeah.
via con deals, and you still see that today. You still see
Yeah.
those elements today. When you travel, especially in the South, you see it, right?
Exactly.
Not to be too deep or anything or whatever, but that's the reality.
No, you're absolutely right. And this is a really great discussion that we're
Mm.
having on here.
That's twice you said that.
Fuck. Yeah, you keep going. You go. Ryan said Grant has a bit of an anti-Semite moment in the war, though he does appoint the first Jewish cabinet member, I think. Yeah, we talked about that in our latest episode, Order 11, which was expelling the Jews, which was wrong.
We did talk about that.
Wrong. Very bad.
Wrong with the capital R. Okay.
You're spelling like I do.
Your math skills are,
I know.
But we did talk about order number 11. We did.
Yeah, we did.
Because it was all happening around the same time. But you know what's something? When you hear about Grant, historically, you don't hear a lot about that, right? That's part of the just cause thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's part of and we talked about this in Stones River, where Grant is shaping history, like his own narrative, and the narrative, which will become the narrative, which will factor heavily into the narrative of the Civil War. He's shaping it in his favor. And that's why men like Rosecrans get left behind. Rosecrans is, Stones River changed my opinion of Rosecrans. He needs more credit. He got the Union that victory. But in 1865, when Lincoln handed Grant that list of Union victories, Grant said, Stones River's not a victory.
Yeah, and there's a lot of politics that goes. I mean, we mentioned before at the Stones River that whatever the general was who came out of the Civil War as the victor was going to be president.
Yeah.
And Lincoln and all of them had a real vested interest in making sure it was going to be a Republican and not a Democrat, right? And the politics to this day, is still, and so they needed to make sure that a Rosecrans or a Hooker was always going to be kept down. And that's not the only reason why. But I mean, logically speaking, it's no coincidence that Grant was promoted along the way. And Grant done a lot of great things.
He did. Grant's amazing. Like, we're not trying to...
His Shiloh, Donaldson, his Overland campaign, Vicksburg, brilliant, right? But he's not without his flaws, and there is a pattern with him where he was going to minimize the efforts of other people he deemed to be rivals. But that's human nature. That's just the way it is. Yeah. It's not pissing on Grant. It's just talking about the reality of it, right?
Yeah, and Ryan says Rosecrans, Wallace, Hooker, Grant has a shit list to match McClellan's. I am really looking forward to studying Shiloh and looking at Wallace, because I always think Wallace got a shitty deal. But the thing is, like, we're not trying to bring Grant down. So Grant is up here, and somebody like Rosecrans and Wallace and Hooker are down here. We want to bring them up, because there's reasons that they should be up with Grant. Yes, Grant is the ultimate victor in the Civil War and all that, but these guys did stuff too that they deserve to be known for. Hooker does not deserve to be known just for getting concussed at Chancellorsville. Wallace doesn't deserve to be known for just possibly going the wrong way. There's more to that story there, And Rosecrans doesn't deserve to be known for, as you said, Darren, he had a nervous breakdown at Chickamauga. Because the Rosecrans at Chickamauga is not the Rosecrans at Stones River at all.
No, and then Lincoln, that quote about he acted like a duck that had been hit on the head.
Yeah, right? Which was like, when you brought that up and you're like, isn't that kind of insulting? And I was like, actually, yeah, that quote is. I've laughed at that quote for many years. And then now I'm thinking, I'm like, that was a real dickheaded thing to say. You don't know what Rosecrans was going through,
I think, there was a shelf life for all these guys.
Yeah.
And Grant, and you know what? We have fun with Grant. We do.
Oh, yeah. I love Grant. Right? He's awesome.
But you know something, though, seriously? If you were in that situation where you were watching people killed in front of you in horrific ways, I mean, we're going to shit on him for drinking? I mean, there were guys around him. There were guys around him, Rosecrans, having nervous breakdowns. Guys like Burnside, we'll talk about next week with the Mud March, who had a really good plan, but weather fucked him up, and he ended up resigning because he lost all the respect from everybody. Because things he can't control is what burned him. So you always got to put yourself back in that perspective of when this stuff was going on and was going through their heads. I've always thought Rosecrans got a bad deal. I mean, Grant's cracker line plan was Rosecrans' plan.
Yep.
You know, that he took credit for, right? Not that, you know, okay, fine. But again, Rosecrans is somebody who history pushes to the back, pushes off the dance floor, to use your phrase. When I think there could be a better study of him would give him a lot more credit than he should have a lot more.
Exactly. And to give Rosecrans more credit is not taking anything away from Grant at all. That's not, you know, we're not hating on Grant. It's just like, you know, we've given McClellan a little bit more of a voice in history, I think, too, with our talk about, you know, after Antietam, that, you know, McClellan can't take all that blame because there was shit happening with the bureaucracy as well. And you see the same shit happening with the bureaucracy, like back in Washington with Fredericksburg, with the pontoons, with Halleck just, you know, fucking that up for Burnside, and Burnside's not able to execute his plan because Burnside is not one of these men. He's not like Grant. He can't think on his feet in a situation that is like, okay, we didn't get this. Okay, so what can we do? And his generals are giving him like, okay, here's some other options. And Burnside's like, nope, we got to do it with the pontoons. Can't do it any other way.
No, but the reality is the American Civil War is on end victoriously for the North, if not for the U.S. Grant. There's no question. There's absolutely no question.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of guys along the way who don't get credit that Grant takes credit for.
Yeah.
Right. And that's all we're saying. And but he deserves all the accolades he gets, and we're definitely Team Grant. Yep. But I think to look at a guy, you've got to look at all aspects. You have to look at the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he's certainly somebody who, you know, Ryan mentions Baldy Smith, another guy who deserves credit.
There's another one. Right? Yep.
And there's a whole bunch. George Thomas we mentioned a million times.
Exactly. George Thomas, Howard, Charles Tilden. All these men deserve more of a voice in history because, like I said, for every Chamberlain, every Grant, there is somebody that is equally interesting, you know, that has a great story. Like Lytle at Chickamauga, a Mason, you know, his story, his death is so fascinating.
It's Freemasons. We always kill it, Mary.
You guys did shit.
I would have won Chickamauga by myself.
One hand tied behind your back?
One hand. I would have been like Howard. One hand tied behind my back. You know.
Howard was a Mason too, as we've discovered.
He was. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. My boy.
Running the world, Mary. Running the world. So. Anybody who's on this who's a Freemason, chime in. That's pretty cool stuff. It's one of the more entertaining things I've ever done. So,
one of the side things I love to study in history is Freemasonry.
And you could never be one, which is hilarious.
You know what? I'm okay with that though. I'm not like I tell you, like I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. You guys get that, you know.
Yeah.
Someday I'll join the
Order of the Eastern. I know all the secrets. I know
there's the Order of the Eastern Star.
I know it's on back of the Declaration of Independence. I know it all, but that's okay. But I think there's a lot of guys. You know, it's, you know, for example, we talk about, let's put this into modern sports technology or history right now. Yeah. Think of like the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Mm-hmm. Pat Mahomes gets all the credit, right?
Exactly.
But you don't hear about, nobody can name unless you're a Chief fan. I don't like that Chiefs, so fuck them. But I'm going to use them as an example because I can't bear to talk about my Patriots right now. No one talks about the offensive lineman who blocked for him, right? Or the defense who keeps his team in the game. So Grant is that quarterback. But I think that, you know, the linemen, the George Thomases, the Rosecrances of the world, the Baldy Smiths of the world are the ones who need to get a better look, because I think history has given them the shit end of the stick because we tend to focus on specific people. And I think what's great about this group is everyone who's on this is like us. We all
there's such a variety, like
but what I'm saying is that the overall public needs to spend more time looking at these other guys.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's great that we talk about this stuff, and it's great that other people listen and talk about this stuff. But I think I wish more people would, because I think it'll raise everyone's boats a little bit higher as far as understanding this stuff right now.
Yeah. And John said when Grant met Rosecrans, he said he had good ideas, but wondered why he had not executed them. And Ryan said, if you want to be remembered, don't get killed before writing your book. Carney, Stevens, Reno, Mansfield, C.F. Smith. And Jim says, I forgot to mention I went to school in small town Iowa. There were 305 students, K-12, and I graduated in a class of 26. Wow.
Holy shit. Class of 26?
That's like here. There's some schools here that are like that. There'd be like less than 26.
My high school is like 500 people.
My class was.
I don't want to brag, Mary, but I was in the top 10 or whatever. Of course, we're off damn high. That's like, being in the top 10 of Wall of Fame high is like getting free dining privileges at the friggin' Wendy's. It's not exactly a big deal, but it was cool.
I was an Ontario scholar when I graduated. My name's on a plaque at Goderich District Collegiate Institute.
Really?
It is.
Goderich Collegiate Institute?
Okay, GDCI. I used to call it Goderich District Collection of Idiots.
Oh, there you go. Well, enjoy your plaque then. But I think it's cool. It's cool to study this stuff. What's great about the folks who are on this, and like I said before, this group here is the Breakfast Club.
Yeah, you guys are awesome to hop on here with us. Some of you have been here for every single one of these, which is amazing.
It's just fun. It's just fun. But I think it makes everyone at a different level. I don't want to say smarter, because that's kind of an insulting thing to say, but it creates more of an awareness. It gives more of an intellectual curiosity to read this stuff. Yeah. And for me, it's been focusing a lot on these Western theater battles, learning more about them and studying more about them. We all know them for the most part. Darren, were you a face curtain?
A lace curtain.
Oh, lace curtain.
Ryan, the McClellan of your school.
Where's a lace curtain? I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means?
No, I don't, but it's...
I have no idea, but it doesn't sound very appealing.
Ryan said I had none, so military academy would have been more relaxed.
Oh, gosh, military academy. But I think it's fun to do that. It's just fun to just
this is great hopping on here and
more,
having these discussions, and I think they're very awesome history discussions. I definitely have learned a lot in these 21 episodes, and I'm absorbing more too. Like I've never studied it this in depth before. I thought I had before, but now I'm like, it's literally all I do. Like my coworkers sometimes are like, what do you do outside of work? Civil War.
Me too. But what's good about it though is people will ask if there's ever, like a lot of the shit that's been going on lately. I'll get calls from people at work saying, "Hey, I wanted to ask you what your opinion on what's going on in Washington right now." And blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. It was cool because it's like people. New screen name for week's lace curtain. I don't know what that means. I've been called many things, Mary. Many
I don't know what it means either.
But I don't know what that one means.
Oh, David said something really nice. This is more enjoyable than any roundtable I'm part of. Good job. Thank you, David, for that. And David, I think you're one of our newer people that are hopping on here with us. And just to let everybody know, the next roundtable will be on January the 20th. So a week from this Wednesday. So anybody who's already been part of it, you'll be getting an email from me probably sometime later this week. But if you have not joined our roundtable before, please send us an email. The email address is now different, info@breakfastclub.com, and we will send you the Zoom link for that.
Yeah, we actually do once a month, the third Wednesday of every month. We actually do a real roundtable. We bring everybody on a Zoom meeting, so everybody gets to talk. And we just hang out like this. We just talk about whatever the subject du jour. So hopefully you definitely jump on. Because we like to have fun. Like we said before, the whole point of this was, there's been many times, and Mary and I have mentioned this many times offline. You go to these battlefields and you sit at a local tavern and you end up talking to someone about the Civil War. And those are some of the best historical conversations you'll ever have, because it's just fun. And we decided to do this and just kind of make it public and just have everybody jump on and just like we're sitting at a bar stool shooting the shit. And that's the whole point of it. And there's no right, there's no wrong, there's no good guys, there's no bad guys. We just have fun with it. So we hope you appreciate it. But definitely, David, definitely check out the round table, because it's just fun.
And we don't necessarily have a topic. In December we talked about books because we were coming on Christmas and we knew people were going to have gift cards to use at Amazon. Admittedly, I used mine for a new chair, which should be here next Friday, because I'm tired of sitting in this thing. My back is not happy with me right now. Thankfully, I do yoga and that helps. David needs the email again, please. So it's
I'm gonna type it on here.
Oh, okay, awesome.
There we go. Info at Civil War Breakfast Club Talk. Is that what it is, right? Info, right?
Oh, John said that the lace curtain, I think, is a Departed reference.
Oh, I'll have to watch the movie again.
Yeah, we should watch
that movie. Was okay. It wasn't my favorite Boston movie, but it was okay. I'll have to check that lace curtain. I'll have to look that up. But it's okay. And
then John P said, "I kid, but you guys have been great. Lots of cool perspectives." Yeah, thank you. We really and I know John, you said that you don't agree with us about McClellan, but that's totally cool. If we're making you think a little bit more or whatever, but it's great how
we're not
everybody is so respectful. Everybody's so respectful on here.
Nothing we ever say is resolute. Like this is the way we just our own opinions of it. It's just the more you study it, certain things emerge. And McClellan, he was one that, he was one that came out that was more positives than we expected, and just, but anybody hate on him all you want. It's just, there's nothing wrong with that. No one will ever judge you here liking or hating anybody. Trust me.
And that's why I said when we launched our forum last week, I said the only rule is don't say anybody's wrong. All opinions are welcome, and that's how we learn, is discussing stuff like this. It's like, if somebody thinks Stonewall Jackson is the best thing ever, then that's great. That's their opinion. I'm not going to shoot them down for that. I will still carry with me that he's the Claiborne of the East, but I'm not going to hate on them for it.
But yes, David, it's okay to be a Southern boy on here. It's totally
yeah,
cool.
Of course, David.
But we actually, what's so fun about it is some of the most fervent Southern supporters I know marry Northerners.
Same here.
Right? Like a lot of people who are very pro Confederacy history, the statues, all that stuff, are all Northern people. And and there's not this whatever, but you have a safe haven, you have a safe harbor here for anybody.
Oh, Allie K, I agree. Unless it's Darren and he's drinking shitty beer, then he's wrong. Allie K, I got a story for you. So yesterday I dumped out a beer and he gave me shit for it. He said I should have drank it. I'm sorry. Life is too fucking short.
She had a beer and she dumped it. This beer sucks. I'm dumping this. I go, are you serious? Are you gonna finish that? No, I'm not. I'm dumping it. And she actually dumped it. But so my latest beer du jour right now is I'm drinking this Silent Night for S'mores by Barnstable IPA. It's got a moon on it, Mary.
Nice.
Where is it? There it is. Okay. But nothing but good beer today, Allie K.
Yep.
This is the
Leonard,
this is the Boston College hockey of beers, not the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
And Leonard said, I like Stonewall despite the hatred. That's awesome. Like, I mean, I don't hate Stonewall. I just don't.
But you know what, though?
Fascinating.
As much as we think Stonewall is probably overrated,
yep.
You cannot tell the story of the Civil War without Stonewall Jackson.
Exactly.
Right?
No, he is.
He's one of those characters.
Important one.
He's one of those polarizing characters, plus or minus, that you have to talk about, and they're all like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just can't be from Ohio. Yeah, there you go. Good call.
Ryan said, I mean, I worry about Mayor's judgment given her view of Howard, but she's friends with a guy from Boston, so the clues were there. Hey, when Pike was on here a few weeks ago, and she said that Howard's main emoticon on texting would be the. I totally agree with that. Like, Hooker's like, hey, Howard, how's it going down there where I set you up at Chancellorsville? And Howard responds with, not sure.
Yeah, Laurie's jumping off. Yeah, good luck to your football team as long as it's not the Browns. But
yeah, bye, Laurie.
But hey, but seriously though, it's when we look at the Howard thing, for example, right? Is there's a plus and minus to everybody, and whatever you resonate with, do it. Fucking fling it.
Exactly. I mean, I admit Howard's not an angel. He made mistakes, but I think when you hear the name Oliver Otis Howard, you think Chancellorsville. You don't think right-wing commander in the March to the Sea. He's very prominent in the help, taking Fort McAllister. He's really good at Gettysburg. And unfortunately, Hancock is up here and Howard's down.
I never understood why he gets pissed on for Gettysburg.
Neither
right?
do I.
He takes over because Reynolds gets killed, right?
Yep.
Actually takes over from Doubleday, actually.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
But he takes over, he has his core. He wisely leaves von Steinwehr back on Cemetery Hill, right?
Yep.
He does everything right. The only thing he really does wrong is he doesn't give his soldiers a retreat plan.
Yep.
Right? So they get lost running back. But that's, when you have 150 years to study in depth the mistakes people make, but in real time, what was he supposed to do? I mean,
exactly. Right? He's operate like however his brain works, and yeah, he's not the most talented general in the Civil War, but he still needs a lot more credit. But I'm not looking at him just as like his military talent, like I'm looking at him as a human too. He seems like he was a pretty good guy. Um, and yeah, like he's having to think on his feet. And then people say like he didn't move around enough or he wasn't looking at stuff. And then Hancock comes to the battlefield and is all like, Dad likes me better. You know, probably snaps his fingers in his face.
Well, I mean, look, if you can sit there and say mistakes, right? Are you going to tell it? Mary, I'll be honest, and I know the answer to this. Is Howard's mistake at Chancellorsville any worse than Sherman's at Chickasaw?
Absolutely not. And that's the thing.
I mean, is it?
Like
Right?
it's not. It's
Or Grant's at Holly Springs, or I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, it doesn't mean though. It doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that it's funny how specific people get labeled on their failures, and I'm not sure what Howard ever did to get on the shit list of a lot of historians. But people tend to pick and choose certain things,
Yep.
right? Hooker is another guy. He gets no credit for Lookout Mountain at all.
Nope.
You know,
and that's
he
because
had
of
the
Grant and his
concussion.
memoirs.
Yeah, he had the concussion at Chancellorsville that obviously affected the end of the battle. He had that whole Joe Hooker lost confidence in Joe Hooker thing, but I think there was a lot going on with that. Hooker did a lot of stuff people don't realize. He reorganized the artillery.
Yep.
Right. We're
going to be talking all about that next week about what he did.
Meade's army that he had at Gettysburg was Hooker's army.
That's what I've always said about it. Is like Meade had not been in there long enough to make it his army. It was the army that Joseph Hooker created after the horribleness of Fredericksburg and the Mud March. When you have an AOP that has no morale, Hooker reorganized it amazingly, and people think he's got this tarnished figure in history. And Jim makes up a good point. Why are there no books about Hooker? I think that's why right there. Like he's just not he's not there in the historical record, whether he didn't leave memoirs, whether we don't have his papers or whatever. And he's just not. I think people look more at the end of the Civil War than they do at the beginning, Right. And,
but Hooker was also, we had before, he was that mouthy guy at the bar who was arrogant, who was a prick, who everybody hated. And a lot that goes up. Think about like when you're working at the Dairy Queen up there in Kincardine, right?
Yeah.
When people give you a hard time.
Yep.
But think of the people you work with. They can be the most talented people in the world, but if they're dicks, you don't like them.
Exactly.
And people don't tend to focus on their positives. Now, he's somebody who there's probably not a good book. And what surprises me is where I live here in Massachusetts, where there's a lot of Joe Hooker stuff, there's not a lot more publicity. I'm stunned he's not buried here, by the way.
Yeah, he's in Ohio, and his grave was one of my favorite ones to visit. I loved visiting him.
Imagine being buried in Ohio for eternity.
God.
Seriously?
God.
By the way, fucking Roll Tide on that.
Yeah,
Jesus
I know.
God.
Roll Tide. This is my example of Roll Tide right here, because it's not Ohio. Jim says, I have to admit, I've never read much about Howard. Is there a good biography you can recommend? Jim, I have been looking for one. I am planning on writing a biography about him at some point.
She is going to write a book.
That's
I'm looking
going to be my.
Mary's going to write a book on
one of my bigger life goals is to write a biography about Oliver Otis Howard, and I've been wanting to do that for the last little while. So I'm going to hopefully start that post-COVID when I can travel again and I can go to all the sites that he was at and do the research I need to do for it. But Jim, I would recommend starting with Howard's memoirs, and you can just Google Oliver Otis Howard memoirs, and you should be able to find them online. I use them in a lot of stuff that we do for the podcast. He's an excellent writer. He's like, it's like any memoirs though. He's going to elevate himself a little bit, but that's a great place to start. But I don't think there's no recent biographies about him. I think there might've been one written years ago. Well, there actually is one about his time out west called, I think Smoke in the Mountains, or I'll send you the name of it, Jim. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's about him and the Nez Perce Indians. I think that whole thing.
I think honestly, I think you'd write a great book on Howard, Mary. I think it'd be fantastic. I would,
Yeah, I'm gonna need your help with it.
The big words like undulations.
Yeah, the word undulations will not be in my book. It will all be rolling hills.
Well, then it's going to lack credibility then. Okay. Yep. Just saying.
Yeah, so when you see the dedication in it, when it says to Fucker, it's to him. Just
make sure it's PH. It sounds more classy that way. Whatever. But I think, Hooker's the guy who deserves more written about him.
Yep.
But I think a lot of these publishers, I think there's also a fatigue on Civil War history.
There is, and who's
I mean,
going to sell?
someone mentioned.
You,
Someone mentioned earlier about the books written on Gettysburg. I mean, try getting a book published on the Lincoln assassination. There's no chance. People are just sick of it, right? There's so many books about it, so many books about Gettysburg. So it would have to be a very niche book.
yeah.
But how many Civil War people are going to pay $29.95 to buy a book on Joe Hooker where they're trained this guy sucked? That's the problem. Exactly. That's the historical memory thing. That's why there's no books on him. That's the problem.
Exactly. Yeah,
know?
It's the same with Thomas too. Like, well, Thomas, it's because before he died, he told his wife, burn all my fucking papers after I die, because he was so done with it. But yeah, like you said about you make a really good point when you say, like, why is Sherman fucked up just as, look at me, this is 3 times now, holy fuck.
Wow, this is quite a day here. I'm gonna celebrate this day.
Enjoy it while you can.
Ooh.
You make a really good point about, Howard being known only for Chancellorsville, and Sherman fucked up more at Chickasaw.
What the hell's wrong with us? But I you're right. You're right though, to a point. Is people. But
I just said what you said, and I'm right to a point.
You're right to a point. No, you're right. But the thing about it is the Civil War community would piss all over a Hooker book. Can you imagine what they would do to it? I mean, for God's sakes. But you know what though? It probably should be done though. I think there's probably not a lot of books written on George Thomas that should be written. Speaking of him,
Jim says there are a few books, but he's more positively looked upon.
Oh, okay. But there are more people who should be written about. I mean, there's another lead book coming out. I mean, how many more lead books do we need? Right?
I know. I mean, I agree with it. If
I think Guelzo's writing that. Did I see that?
He is. Guelzo's writing it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, somehow he's going to blame Meade.
Yeah, he's going to blame Meade for the way we was.
No, but I think there's a lot of guys who don't get the publicity they should get. Yep. I think a Howard book, Mary, you'd kill a Howard book. You really would. You should really do it.
I'm gonna do it.
I mean, I'm not sure how you're gonna write about swearing in every sentence, but that'll be interesting to see.
No, my book will have swearing in it. I know exactly how I want to do it too. I know exactly the format I want for it. It's not going to be the conventional history book at all. It's going to be a little bit different.
But definitely do it. But make sure you get undulations on there though.
Yep. The reviews in the Civil War community Mary for not using undulations.
See, listen to the Civil War community right here. They want undulations. The people want undulations.
Jim said there are a few books about Thomas, but he's more positively looked upon than Hooker. Yeah, absolutely, he is. And Ryan says the rejection of the great man theory of history means universities are keen on general biography. So like if you go to a publisher like Simon & Schuster and say, hey, I've got this great book about General Grant, would you review it? Odds are they're going to know who General Grant is. But if you go and say like, I've got this book about Charles Tilden or Oliver Otis Howard, they're going to be like, who? That's
a problem. You got to self-publish a thing or get someone to take a shot at you. Or I saw it's pretty funny. But the
Oh, Howard, the fucking Christian general primary.
You should do Finch or PH, by the way, on your name.
I'm going to.
But you know what? But you'd have to like do emerging Civil War type thing, do one of those deals to get them to help with that.
Yep. No, that's probably what. It's not going to be like it's not going to be like a Ron Chernow biography. I just want to tell about his life, and I want him to be seen in just to show he's more than Chancellorsville, and here's why we need to respect this guy. Here's why what he did at Gettysburg was actually good. Here's why the First Corps broke first.
Oh, so this is going to be a very even-handed book. It's not going to be.
No, I'm not going to.
Oliver Otis Howard died for our sins.
Yep.
This will be a good one. This is going to be like a Sothal Freeman book.
No, it's not. Oh, I'm gonna.
He would have carried that cross if he had both arms. I can see it now.
Hey, he ran that flag up the hill at Gettysburg with one arm.
He did. He
But
did.
that dude was
That's
like,
not the
"Where do you
story.
want it?"
People don't realize that. That's
Yeah.
not the good story. You know.
Yeah, where he's like, "Where do you want me to take it?" And then Howard's like, "Up there." Fuck that.
Yeah.
And Howard's like, "Fine."
Definitely.
He must have had his running shoes on that day.
He was sprinting. That's funny.
He sprinted up that hill.
So what's coming up next? Mary's going to wind this down here. What's
Yeah.
coming up next? We have
So
we have
next
the
week
Mud March coming up, right?
Mud March and Hooker's changes to the Army of the Potomac, and then we have. I think we're going to look at Sherman's Carolinas campaign.
That's coming up. So that's for you,
Yep.
Jacob. We're
Yep.
doing that.
And then we are going to be having Lisa Samia as a guest. And then I believe the episode after that, which will be into February, is going to be about secession.
Yeah. Now, having Lisa on will be great. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And the Carolinas will be a continuation of the March to the Sea. And of course, the Mud March will be really, really good. So again, we've seen some people sending us the information about the book club thing. So definitely do that. We have a handful of people doing that. Definitely do it. It's $5. It's Christ.
We've got some people that have already sent us in their the receipt of their donation. So thank you guys. You guys are awesome. We're doing this for a good cause, to raise some money for Battlefield.
Yeah, God knows we don't see anything out of it. I mean, it's all 100%. That's why you're going directly to sending money directly to ABT. We don't want to touch that money.
Yeah, we do not we don't make money off this podcast, and we don't ever it's not why I got into this. I'm doing this for the passion of it.
We'll never do money off this. But it's a good case for people, like-minded people, to be able to donate some money.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we'll get you some books. It was very nice of Kent Masterson and Sarah Rubin and Kate Larson to send us books signed for this, because they're very much on board with what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we'll do this announcement in 2 weeks about who wins, and then we'll mail you the books, so you'll have a signed copy from those three books. That's pretty cool. It's always nice to have a signed copy from the author. It's just pretty
cool.
Cool.
Yeah, and the books are all
they're very good. Those three are very good to us.
They're very, very nice.
We reached out to him too. We just didn't go to get a book from him because we thought most people already had the first book, so we just didn't want to do that. So
we are really looking forward to the book club. Just a reminder, we have our website now, civilwarbreakfastclub.com, and we have a forum on there, which I've noticed there's a few of you that are on there that are posting messages and stuff, which is awesome. So
how cool is that, seeing the forum going on?
I love that. I just wanted to give people a spot to come and talk about this, and everybody's I just love how respectful everybody is. We all have different opinions, but nobody is like, fuck you, you're wrong kind of thing.
No, that's not what we're about. I mean,
because I know not everybody, how it came about is we knew not everybody was going to be able to make the Zoom meeting for either the round table or for the book club. And we understand that. So we wanted to give people another spot to come talk about the books that we're reading in the book club, but also to come talk about just different Civil War topics. And I looked into it, and we were able to have a forum on our website. So that's what we have now is the forum. So it's free to sign up, and just hop on there, and you can talk with us on there too.
Yeah. The support is always appreciated. It's a lot of fun doing this and all this stuff. So we'll definitely gather those receipts for the who wins. We'll definitely announce these books. Yeah. And like I said, if you do more, you enter as many times as you want, you can win all three. Postal weight.
Yep. Ryan.
So you could do that. And so yes, Ryan, if you do it, we are going to mail it. It'll probably cost something. I can take a home equity line on this house I'm in, but I'll get you the book. I promise.
Send you some money for the postage. Ryan said, a special place to post a random Civil War photo and know you're in a race to identify everybody in it. Yeah. Ryan posted a photo on there. I think it was Blanker's division, which the very early 11th Corps, I think.
That's old school.
That's really well. Ryan's into the old. Ryan's into
Franz Siegel shit right there.
Yeah, Ryan's into the early part of the Civil War, which is cool. I know a lot of people that are into the later part. Ryan's into the earlier part of the Civil War. Jim says, I'll be doing my historic sightseeing road trips over the summer, so the forum is a great idea. Thank you very much, Jim. And yeah, feel free to go in there and post. I got a thing for Civil War road trips and people. One person's talked about their first visit to Gettysburg. But that's also a place where you guys can go and ask questions. If you're wondering about a specific battlefield and maybe where to stay, where to eat, how to, recommendations for touring the battlefield, post it in there. And I'm sure someone will pop on and answer your questions for you too.
Yeah. just no, I mean, we're all, like I said, we're all cut from the same cloth. We all like the same things for the most part. So, you know, if you have good restaurant ideas in town, places to go,
beer,
put them out there, because people, beer, obviously, just don't get Dunkin' Donuts jelly donut beer, Mary, right off the bat. But you can certainly do that. I know. You know, I finished it though, unlike you, who dumped it. By the way, what the fucking wrong with you?
I'm the hero.
No. Anyway, but I think it's great. It's a great community. Like we said, you guys are the whole Breakfast Club thing.
Yeah.
God knows. Never thought in a million years how this thing was going to grow.
You guys have made this what this is, so we are so grateful and thankful for you guys for all your support, and for those of you that have been, some of you I know have been on here since day one, and that's really, really awesome that you come hang. You spent
once we can finally travel again, right?
Exactly.
We'll travel places like Vicksburg, and we'll hang with you, Leonard, and we'll hang with people, and maybe we'll go over to England someday, Mary, go see old Ryan. Huh?
I think we probably should.
You know. We'll talk about that. So anyway, I think we can sign off today to let people get back to their lives, as we have to get going, because get a lot of stuff going today, Mary. Today's a big day, Saturday, so everybody enjoy your Saturday.
Yep.
And so again, next week we'll be talking about Burnside, the Mud March, going back to December of 1862, and we will talk about that. And so again, appreciate everybody jumping on. So I know it's taking time out of the day. It's much appreciated.
It is. You guys are awesome. You guys are why this has grown up the way it has, and we would not be here if it weren't for you. So we are very, very appreciative of you guys, and we definitely have lots of fun plans for 2021 as well. And just always thinking of ways to include you guys in this.
Mm-hmm. So Mary, we'll talk to you soon. Sets his alarm
every Saturday morning. Thank you, Jim.
Jim is awesome. He's one of our fans, but definitely talk to you guys soon. So again, we will say, hope your football team does well this weekend, depending on who you root for. Roll Tide, Leonard. I'm with you. Okay. We got to get this one, and we will talk to everybody soon. So
we're going to get this one
again. Always pleasure to see you with your new braided hair today, which is always cool. Different hairstyle for you today. And we'll talk to you soon. So everybody have a great rest of the weekend. Have a safe weekend. Stay out of trouble. Looking at you, Allie, and we'll talk to you guys soon. So we'll have a lot of fun. So
Ryan,
we'll catch up with you soon.
Yep. Ryan said this is super, and She Must Be Obeyed is very grateful you keep me busy on Saturday afternoons. Well, we're very happy you join us.
Oh, hey, we're all trying. Everybody's family bliss. No doubt about it.
Everybody have a great weekend. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Everybody have a great weekend. Stay out of trouble, and we will look forward to talking to you soon. So thanks again for watching.
Bye, guys.
And we will talk to you, as they say, on the other side. Peace out, Mary, as we put a bow on this one. See you guys. All right.